following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
Hi, everybody. This is former WWE superstar Al Snow.
CW Anderson.
Sean Oliver.
My name is Eugene.
And you are watching the Insider's Edge podcast.
Now get on the train.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Insider's Edge podcast here on the WZWA Network in conjunction with Blue Wire Hustle. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, California in Ferry. It's great to be with you all once again. And here tonight, well, this morning for me, this morning for my guest, this is a true honor for me to have the opportunity to speak to former XPW King of the Deathmatch and World Heavyweight Champion, held them both at the same time, and former CZW Ironman Champion and three-time CZW Heavyweight Champion, and he held them both at the same time as well. Not many people can say that they did that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one, this is the only, this is the Messiah. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, bro. I know you've spoken to another Australian recently in the last year, my good friend Piers Austin from the MWA Podcast Network. So 2 Aussies in 1 year, you know, you got to be excited about that. I always start the interviews, bro, with the same old question. When you were a young man, how did you become a wrestling fan? What was the moment that the bug bit you and you just couldn't stop thinking about it?
You know, it's the match. It was either, I do remember, I think I was at like a party at my aunt's house when I was a little kid or something like that. And all the adults were playing poker or something and drinking. And they just threw me, you know, in the living room with the TV. And it was either WrestleMania 3, Hogan versus Andre, or more than likely it was probably Saturday night's main event, Hogan versus Andre, where they had the two Earl Hebners.
Oh, yeah.
And for some reason, that's just such a distinctive memory in my brain. I'm pretty sure that's when I discovered it. And from that point on, I was just hooked. I was everything pro wrestling. That's all I wanted to watch. I didn't grow up a sports guy. I didn't have a favorite sports team. My dad wasn't a sports guy, so it wasn't like we went to, you know, Dodger games or Laker games. We just didn't do that. But for some reason, pro wrestling I gravitated towards it. It got my attention. And when I saw that, it was Hulk Hogan became like the coolest guy in the world to me when I saw that. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, no, the story always rings true with everyone. The first time they saw it, that was it for them. It was all over. I guess was it maybe the 90s had come along? Was that when you first discovered like maybe ECW or hardcore kind of wrestling? When was the first time you kind of that caught your eye?
Yeah, it was definitely ECW. I'm trying to remember. Honestly, maybe I was like 17 or 16, but at the time, like I was working like a Blockbuster Video, and you know they closed at midnight, so I'd get home and I couldn't go to sleep, so I just watched TV and just channel surfing. ECW was on like at 2 a.m. And it just instantly got my attention. I mean, instantly. I think the first guy I remember seeing on ECW was Sabu, and you know, the hardcore aspect of it, the chairs and the blood, like I thought it was the coolest thing. And it definitely wasn't, you know, the 1980s good guy versus bad guy, eat your prayers, you know, not eat your prayers, but, you know, take your prayers, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, all that stuff. And I instantly loved it. And I would purposely stay up until 2 a.m. on Saturday. I think it was on Saturday nights. And I would watch it purposely just for that.
Isn't it interesting that the difference is, you know, Hogan would say, you know, eat your vitamins, but the Sandman would be like, eat 2 tabs of acid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't help but you couldn't help but be, like notice this and go, what is this? This is really cool. Because it was just, and also, everyone talks about the hardcore and then the chairs and the blood, but just the wrestling aspect of the show too was stuff I wasn't seeing on WWE, WCW, yeah, because of the luchadors and guys like that, like Chris Jericho, like those guys. But just the wrestling aspect too, I thought it was amazing.
It really was, and there had to be a point in time as you're getting into your late teens where you decide to get involved in the business. And my research tells me that you trained at the Slam U Wrestling Gym. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, from the first time I saw wrestling, I wanted to try to do it or attempt to do it, but I grew up in California, and where I was, they had like a cable. They had like Channel 3 out here was it was just how do I describe it? It was basically just a channel that would like tell you when the next board meetings or city council meetings were on, and they'd have little wrestling shows, in the background as these things would scroll. And one of the shows they had was Wrestle Talk, and it was hosted by a guy named Dynamite D. Who I eventually became friends with because I wrestled with him in XPW. But he was always pushing this Slam U, or Slammers Wrestling Federation. And I think I was in junior high school, and I wanted to go check it out because my dad knew I wanted to try to become a professional wrestler. I wanted to do it or get involved in it somehow. And he made a bet with me, if I got good grades on whatever report card it was, that he would take me down to the gym because it wasn't that far from where we lived. And sure enough, I did well. We went down there, and yeah, I mean, we went there unannounced. And so when we went there, the guy who owned it, Vern Langdon, it just happened to be open. He was there. There was like two other guys. I believe it was a guy named Jeff Lindbergh and movie star Mike. And they basically put on a wrestling show for me. Just this kid came here to check out wrestling and look, okay, and they just did it. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And then flash forward to when I'm 18, because Vern did tell me you have to be 18 to do this. It's like, okay, I was in junior high school, so I had no argument. I can try to weasel my way into it, but when I turned 18, I still wanted to do it. And then the only thing I knew about wrestling schools, I didn't know, it's not like how it is now with the internet and you can just find whatever you need. But the only thing I started wanting to try to pursue it again when it's when Warrior came back, when Ultimate Warrior came back to WWE, and then they were pushing his Warrior University. I was like, oh, that's cool. All right. And so I think it was like you had to send for some packet, you gave like $20 or something. And I got a packet back, and it was this cool, great thing with a lot of pictures of a gym and blah, blah, blah. And this invitation to come to what he dubbed a no BS seminar. And it was based in Arizona, in Scottsdale, I believe. So I was talking to my dad about it, and he goes, do you want to go? It was like $300 to go. And that didn't include like food or lodging. It was just, hey, $300 to go to the seminar, where he's just going to talk to you. Yeah, I told my dad, I'm not 300. No, he would have given me the money and I would have had to pay him back. But, my BS meter was going off going, this is what, $300 just to hear him talk? I'm like, no. And then my dad mentioned, what about Slammers? And so I called up Slammers. They were still running. They were doing shows in Bakersfield, which was about 90 minutes to an hour away from where I was living. And I think I left a message. Vern called me and he's like, yeah, we do shows in Bakersfield. We do wrestling class on Sundays. And why don't you come down to the show? It was every Thursday. They did shows at Strongbow Stadium in Bakersfield. Come down to the show and see what you get yourself into. All right. And talked to my dad. We went. And I think that show, a guy named El Toro Bravo like lost a tooth because Vern like punched it right out of his mouth. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And the following Sunday, I went and went to a class, and that's essentially how I started. And they proceed. Basically, I just got the crap kicked out of me for like 6 months when I was at the school. They just beat the shit out of me. And to be honest with you, I loved every minute of it. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Awesome. So everyone in this period of time seems to get the crap kicked out of them during training. I wanted to ask you about, the first match that you had. Obviously, you must have been nervous. Most people on this show talked about how nervous they were. What was that scenario?
I was super nervous. It was on Thanksgiving Day, and I want to say 1996. Yeah, Thanksgiving Day, 1996, and I wrestled a guy named El Spirito, the Spirit, and the guy who wrestled as Felony in XPW. If anybody knows XPW, the roster there, he wrestled as Felony, and I was nervous. My dad, my stepbrother, and my best friend, they came down and watched me, and it was in front of like 20 people. There was no one there. I loved it, and I lost. Because I was told your first match, you always go, you lose. And the other thing too is, no one clued me in on how wrestling works until my trainer, Carlos, maybe a week before. He goes, "This is how it works. We're not trying to really kill each other. I just remember thinking, okay, then why were you were beating the shit out of me, man? Like, what the hell? Like really punching me and kicking me in the gut where I'd lose my breath. And I understand it now why it was that way. But I think if I remember right, he DDT'd me, El Spirito DDT'd me on the concrete outside the ring because we didn't have mats or anything. And like my dad got really concerned because I sold it. I was just sitting there holding my head and everything. And I think that's like when my dad's like, I hope he grows out of this. Like this is just a phase. I hope to God it's just a phase. But I loved it. You had the butterflies and everything, and I can't remember who gave me the advice, but it was true, which was once you get out there, as soon as you take your first bump or you lock up, the butterflies go away because then you're just in the zone and you're thinking about what you're doing. And he was absolutely right. And I found myself, if I can just get to that point, because there was I've had some matches where just the anxiety of it all, like in my mind, I'm going, this is the last time I'm wrestling, not doing it anymore. Last time, not going to do it anymore. And then sure enough, I go out there. Inevitably, I'd always hate the match that I had, but I still loved what I was doing and go, okay, yeah, I'm going to keep on doing it. But it was awesome. I loved it.
Awesome, bro. Yeah, no, I love hearing about the early days of everybody that we've had on the show. And, those early days slowly start to evolve and then opportunities come about. I've got to get to it. How did the opportunity come about to wrestle for XPW?
That came about because, I had been wrestling at Slammers, and I'd been there for about 2 years, and it was an awesome place to learn how to wrestle and learn the mechanics. But, what I tell people is it was an awesome place to learn how to work, but not how to get work. Vern never wanted anybody to leave. Why would you want to go anywhere else? You got and we weren't really doing any shows anymore or anything like that. And at the time I was, what was that? Like 18, 19. I started when I was 18, so like I was 20 years old. And I just had, stuff going on that 20-year-old kids have going on. And wrestling wasn't my primary focus anymore. So I had left Slammers, and my parents my dad had gotten a transfer to Georgia. And I made the decision to stay in California. They moved to Georgia. I ended up living in a garage in my friend's house. And and it was a legitimate garage. There was like no insulation, or my front door was the garage door. Like I was just out in the elements. And after about 6 months, decided, okay, I'll go out to Georgia, get a job, save up some money. I stayed in Georgia for about 6 months, and I was like, I need to get the hell out of here. I love my parents, but they're driving me nuts. And I ended up moving back to California. Within that time, I was always in contact with Carlos, my trainer. He wrestled as Carlito Montana in XPW. And when I moved back to California, he told me that he was going to be wrestling for this promotion. He goes, it's awesome. They got a gimmick for me and everything. And he was really excited about it. And I was happy for him. Fast forward to, I don't know how many days they're in a week or so, but I'm watching Monday Night Raw, and commercials for XPW start popping up. And as I'm watching the commercials, I'm like, I know that guy. Wait, I know that guy. Like I knew who Webb was, White Shirts Johnny Webb. I know Homeless Jimmy. I see Dynamite D on there. These are all guys I trained with at Slammers. And so, the next time I talked to Carlos, I mentioned, hey, I saw this commercial for this XPW, and it's all the guys that we trained with. And he goes, dude, that's the promotion that wants to use me. And I was super happy for him. I was like, that's so cool. And he had mentioned that my name had been brought up a couple times, but he didn't tell anybody what was going on with me because he didn't want to, he's like, I didn't know if you wanted anybody knowing if you were back or anything like that. It's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'd love to check it out. And so the following week went to a practice, because in XPW we would practice every Tuesday. And so I went to the practice with Carlos, and as we're about to enter the building, Carlos goes, oh, by the way, just so you know, they shoot adult movies here. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then he goes, and I think the owners are Jewish, so no Jewish jokes. I was like, I don't tell Jewish jokes, but okay, okay, cool, I won't. And went in there, and as soon as I walked in there, I recognized a couple of the guys. I had done like 2 indies outside of XPW, and that's where I had originally met Chaos and Supreme, so I knew who they were. And I see Dynamite D and everything. And actually, sorry, fast forward. After I had spoke to Carlos on the phone, XPW was having a show, and I think Carlos was debuting. I went to that XPW show. Like, I stood in line and I paid for a ticket. I didn't tell Carlos I was coming, and watched the show and thought it was awesome. And then I waited a little bit, and I see Dynamite D, and D recognized me and everything. And then the following week, I went to the initial that Tuesday meeting, and I just started training with the guys. And after we would train, we would always have a company meeting, and I walked, because Rob's office was right next to the ring. And so practice was done, training was done, and all right, let's go to the meeting. And I initially wasn't going to go in the meeting. And I think it was Webb and Kevin Kleinrock, because I had met Kevin Kleinrock at Slammers, because he had tried to go to Slammers and learn the business from Vern, but Vern wasn't teaching him anything. Vern was just basically taking his money. And so I went into the meeting, and I sat on the floor because all the seats were taken. Rob Black walked in, sat down at the desk, and everybody's talking, and he just basically goes, shut up. Who the F are you? And he just pointed his finger at me, and I'm like, I'm Billy. I used to wrestle with these guys. And then Webb just looked at Rob and goes, he's good. He's okay. He's fine. And that was it. And that's essentially how I got into XPW.
Fantastic story. Love it. It's almost like I can see it playing out like a film.
Well, Rob, I'm pretty sure the reason Rob pointed his finger at me and like, who the F are you, is because during our practice, I wanted to go get some water. And so I went in the building. I didn't know my way around the building, and I got lost. I think I was using the restroom, but I got lost. And I went into a door. I opened the door, or I went into a room. And when I walked in the room, all I saw was the silhouette of a dude leaning back in a chair on the phone. And he had these boots that had like 4-inch heels on them or something. And he just up on the desk, and he's on the phone, and you could tell like it was like this green dreadlocks or something, like light green dreadlocks. And I just walked in and went, oh, I'm sorry. Was trying to look for the restroom, and I walked out. So I'm pretty sure that's why Rob was like, who the hell is this kid that just walked in on me? Like, okay. And that's why he singled me out in front of everybody like that.
Right. Good God. November 20th, 1999, you make your debut at XPW Dismembered in November tour under a mask as the Bluenatic, where you lost
Lunatic.
Lunatic, the Blunatic. How did I say that? I can't believe
it. Correct. Actually, honestly, you can say it however you want. It was just a joke,
Lunatic.
Stupid, dumb
Lunatic.
name. Yeah, Lunatic, whatever. Yeah, the dumbest thing in the world.
All day I've been thinking Blunatic all day, and then I said Blunatic. Why would it be Blunatic? That's ridiculous.
Might as well. Yeah.
Speaking of ridiculous, though, it's against Nicole Bass of all people, which widened my eyes because I remember her in the WWF with Val Venus and all that. But tell me about your debut into this gimmick.
Where to start? Essentially, when I was in XPW and I was training, they had a gimmick in mind for me already. They wanted to put me in a tag team called the Moral Crusaders, Luke and Matthew. And we were supposed to be like Bible thumping brothers that preached against XPW and the sex and violence, but we would cheat. And it's essentially what like the right to censor in WWE was. And they wanted to put me in a tag team, but the guy that they were going to tag me with had just like disappeared. No one could get a hold of him. So I was kind of put on the back burner. And they were going to have, before I had wrestled Nicole Bass, the show prior, they had a big battle royal. They needed bodies. And I just said, hey, if you need bodies, I'm more than happy to help out, whatever you need. And I think it was Kevin Kleinrock that went, okay, yeah, we can use Billy, but we need to put a mask on him. Don't want to waste him. We don't want to job him out. Just put a mask on him. Well, okay, whatever. It's cool by me. So yeah, they gave me a blue mask. I believe it was Felony's mask because I didn't have a mask. And yeah, it was called the Blunatic. I think White Trash Johnny Webb, just as a joke, was like, call him the Blunatic. He's from Blue York City. Like, okay, it was just a throwaway gimmick. It was just something that, yeah, essentially I was a jobber or enhancement talent, whatever you want to say. I was there to make people look good. Mm-hmm. And after that battle royal, the following show, they had me against Nicole Bass, and I was there just to make Nicole Bass look like a monster. Yeah, Nicole was very nice, very pleasant, but she did not know how to work. She did not know how to wrestle. She picked me up for her choke slam and dropped me on my head and proceeded to, it wasn't like she was accusing me. Her husband basically accused me, but essentially said, like, I'm the one that screwed it up. He's the one that screwed it up. Like, dude, I'm the one in the air. Like, how am I screwing this up? Like, but dropped me right on my head. And she was very nice. I distinctly remember the first time I wrestled her, like before the show, we were just in the ring, practicing stuff. She shows up, and Rob wanted to get whatever she and I were going to do, get it down. And so I get in the ring and I start, we start just circling each other. And I guess I was going too fast, just walking around. Because when I first started wrestling, like Vern would always say, you're too damn fast. You're too damn fast. Slow it down. Slow it down. And so I started doing, and she just, slow down. You need to slow down. I was like, okay, sorry. And she said, I made my skin crawl when she goes, we're making love. Gotta go slow. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I see Rob and the guys just, they're all snickering because they think it's the funniest thing in the world that she said that. But I basically wrestled Nicole for like 2 to 4 shows. It was just me and Nicole, or, me and someone else versus Nicole, just making her look like a monster. And yeah, that was it. It was just, I was a jobber for Nicole Bass, essentially.
Fair enough, bro. And may she rest in peace.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, what was the atmosphere like with XPW at the time? When the company was there on the West Coast.
The atmosphere was awesome. It was a good locker room. Like we all got along with each other. There really were no egos. I mean, the guys that I hung out with were like Supreme, Chaos, Dynamite D. White Trash Johnny Webb started calling us the Click because we were always hanging around each other and doing stuff with one another. It was a good locker room. It was very family oriented. We all looked out for each other. I know people hear XPW, they hear the adult business and all that stuff, but the drugs and all this, naked chicks, and it wasn't like that at all, man. Like I never saw any drugs. I hate to tell people that because I know they want to hear like these weird stories, but actually no, I saw drugs like once or twice actually. But, it was it wasn't like there was drugs or anything like that. It was we just looked out for each other. We always I mean, it was a good group of guys. It was just a good group of young guys who wanted to be in the wrestling business. Once ECW guys started coming in, there was like a divide because they're ECW and we're just the nobodies kind of thing. But for the most part, the ECW guys that came in, they were very nice and cordial and stuff like that. But it was a good tight locker room.
Cool. Yeah, and I wasn't gonna dig for any of that kind of stuff or anything like that. I just wanted to know what the camaraderie was kind of like with the guys, because this is kind of like a company that's only just kind of begun. You're all in this together, so I wanted to kind of get a feel for that, which is really cool to hear about. The Messiah, how did the character come about?
Well, originally I was supposed to be Luke the Moral Crusader.
Yeah.
And after, however many times wrestling Nicole and being dropped in my head, I finally asked for a meeting with Rob. And in the meeting, I just essentially said, I don't want to be dropped in my head anymore. Nicole's very nice, but I know you have this gimmick for me already, the Moral Crusader, Luke, and he wanted to be a tag team. Why don't I get it started? And if someone comes along that fits the bill, that could be my tag partner, then we'll just, we can move them in. But let me just get it started. And Rob thought about it. In the meeting, I believe Supreme was there, Kevin Kleinrock was there, and maybe White Trash Johnny Webb. I don't remember if Webb was there or not. But Rob was thinking about it, and Rob essentially said, okay, this is something I want to push. This is something I really want to push. If you do well, but this is the only shot you got. You screw it up, you're done. You're not going to get a new gimmick or anything like that. But I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, fine. And he was kind of apprehensive about it. But I remember Supreme just looking at him going, just let the guy do it. Just let him do it. Come on. Like, what is it going to hurt? And so I left that meeting thinking I was going to be Luke the Moral Crusader. The following week, I come in for our Tuesday night workouts and meeting. I'm putting on my boots. I'm tying on my lacing on my boots. Rob walks in and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Jesus." And I went, "Excuse me?" He goes, "You're going to be Jesus." And I tell people this because in my mind, this is how it looked. But he did like these jazz fingers, like Jesus, like that. Like, "You're going to be Jesus." And I was like, no, I can't. I don't want to. No. Like I'm Christian. I've been to Brazil. I've literally been to Brazil and built a church. Like I'm not going to be Jesus. I can't remember. I do know that Kevin Kleinrock told Rob, okay, the guy doesn't want to be Jesus. Like he doesn't have to be Jesus. He's uncomfortable. Like he doesn't want to be Jesus. The guy does not want to be Jesus. And so I think Rob was like, all right, or Kevin told me, okay, well, we'll either call you the Messiah or Savior. And I was like, I don't care as long as it's not Jesus. And then I was called the Messiah. That's basically how I got it.
Right, interesting. Well, thankfully that's what it went on as.
And just so
17.
you know, like, and I tell people this all, I hate the name. I've never liked the name. You know, I know you have like Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah, Roderick Strong, you know, the backbreaker or the Messiah of the backbreaker. Like, I've had guys ask me how I feel about that. It's fine. I don't care. Make $1 million with it. I hope you do. I've just never liked the Messiah name. Like, you know, I always taught you introduce yourself as like your gimmick. Like, hey, how's it going? You know, and anytime I would say the Messiah or hey, I'm Messiah, I just felt so douchey and just so. I mean, like, people call me Billy. That's my name. You know, I wrestled as Messiah or the Messiah, whatever it is, but I'm Billy. And I've always hated the name. I know there's a lot of people that like, oh, that's a cool name, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. It's just, I've always had this inner dialogue with myself regarding it. And, you know, for good or for better, whatever it is, you know, it's that's who I'm known as, and I'm fine with it. It's cool. But yeah, people like introduce themselves to me or say hello to me, or I'm Billy, just Billy. Like, you know, Messiah was cool to put on a t-shirt. You know, that's what it was, you know, like, okay, cool.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from there. 17th of December, 1999. From my research, it's the debut as the Messiah with a win over Johnny Webb on the Merry Christmas Tour. You worked with him a bit here, and even like a cage match on the 16th of April 2000 at a show called And Then There Was Four at the LA Sports Arena.
Do you know what and then there was four supposed to signify? You have WWE, WCW, ECW, and then XPW. Like then there was four. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, okay, I mean, it's the silliest, dumbest thing in the world, but okay. Sorry.
No, thank you for letting me know, because I was curious about that. But working with Johnny Webb this early on in, you know, with this character and all that, tell me a little bit about that.
Working with Webb.
Yeah.
Webb was cool. Webb. How can I say it? Webb. Webb. You kind of had to pull a good match out of him. Not that he couldn't have a good match on his own. He could. But, you know, Webb had a lot of stuff on his plate in XPW because he worked for Extreme Associates as a editor. The guy was working 24/7. I mean, legitimately working 24/7. If he wasn't working on the adult side of the business, he was doing stuff for the wrestling side of the business. The guy was just overloaded. But working with him was cool. He was easy to work with. He was down to do anything. He had great ideas. And, you know, the guy had an awesome gimmick. One of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. And he's not like one of these slapstick kind of guys that, you know, make you laugh. He has this dry sense of humor and sarcasm. That is the funniest thing in the world. When he did his, after I left XPW, he became essentially like Elvis Presley and was like wearing the jumpsuits and stuff and doing the karate and all, like the funniest things I've ever seen. I laugh just thinking about it because it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. But he was a hard worker, and working Webb was easy. He was really easy to work with, and I always enjoyed working with him. But sometimes you just had to pull it out of him a little bit. I remember I had a match with him in Bakersfield, and after the match, I went in the parking lot to just catch my breath and get some air. And over in the corner, it's pitch black. There's no like lights in the parking lot. All I see is like this cigarette. I can see the the cigarette, you know, someone puffing on a cigarette because it would just get really bright red, and then you see smoke. And I'm like, who is that? And it was Webb, and Webb just like, thanks, Billy. I was like, what? Thanks, Billy. It's a good match. It's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, whatever. That's the only a compliment I've ever gotten from Webb. But it was like, thanks, Billy. Like, and I know it was pulling teeth for him just to say that, probably. But yeah, the guy honestly was a workaholic, and he was always fun to work with. Always enjoyed working with.
Cool, bro. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I hit some of the important names throughout the interview, just because it's important to put everyone up on a pedestal. Working with Sabu on the 29th of April 2000 in the title tournament in Bakersfield, Cali, and later on in the following year in 2001, you have a cage match with him at XPW Scene of the Crime at the Grand Olympic Auditorium. And there's a few more times where you guys tangle up, but just from your perspective, you're quite young in the business at this point. I mean, from 96 to 2000, it's 4 years, but this is a guy, as you said earlier, the first guy you think that you might have seen on ECW. Now you get to work with him. This must have felt huge for you.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely huge. And quite frankly, I was, shitting myself. It's Sabu. The guy is legitimately a living legend. And, when he came to XPW, the office didn't wise us up to let us know. Like, we just show up and boom, Sabu's there. We're like, what the hell? Like, it was the coolest thing in the world. And when I wrestled him in that XPW title tournament, I didn't even know I was wrestling him until I got to the building. And because I believe Chris Candido was the XPW champion, but he wasn't able to make a show. And so they stripped him. They stripped him of the belt. I tell this to people when they ask me, how was it working Sabu and like Candido and those guys, or how was it when the ECW guys started coming into XPW, or was I concerned for my spots in the company? Dude, I was so naive to everything. I wasn't aware of having a spot. And especially with the guys that were in the XPW locker room, like Chaos and Supreme and D and, Webb, none of us were, we weren't trying to crawl over each other to be the top guy or the top local guy. None of us were doing that. We enjoyed being around each other and hanging out with each other. And so when those guys came in, dude, I wasn't even aware of a spot or if I had a spot. I was just happy to be on the show. So I didn't realize that I had gotten some popularity in XPW until I wrestled Sabu in the finals of that tournament. And it was because if I remember right, I think there was 20 people at that show. There was no one at that show. And I remember before the show, Axel Rotten was talking to Rob. And I could hear their conversation. And Axel was asking, so what's going on? And, because Candido's not here. And Rob said, we're doing a tournament, blah, blah, blah. Axel's like, so who's in the finals of the tournament? And Rob goes, oh, it's going to be Sabu and Masai. And Axel went, no, you should put me in the finals. Sabu and I can tear this place up. And Rob's like, no. The fans love him. They love Masai. They love him. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't have a computer. It wasn't like I could go online and look at anything that was said if there wasn't anything being said. That was the first time I had heard something like that. And when I had that match with Sabu, he just proceeded to chew me up and spit me out. I was so intimidated to wrestle him. Like I literally have no offense in that match. It's just him beating the crap out of me, and rightfully so. Because he was giving me opportunities to get my stuff in. I just wasn't taking it. I was just so intimidated to be wrestling him. And yeah, what was funny was if I think about the first match I ever had with Sabu to the next one or the following ones I've had with him, that first match, dude, he was throwing live rounds at me, punching me for real. It felt like. Probably because I wasn't responding or wasn't really listening to him like I should have been. Every match I've had since that I wrestled, the guy's light as a feather. Don't even feel it when he touches me. But yeah, if I remember, that was the first time that match with Sabu, that was the first time I ever was like intimidated, like, holy crap, like this is a big deal. And there is something to be said, ignorance is bliss. Like I wasn't aware of having a spot or anything like that, or I was just happy to be there and I'm happy to be, participating in pro wrestling, the stuff I always wanted to do as a kid, so it was a cool experience. And, yeah, if I could go back, I'd do some things over again with him in that match. Because like I said, he just beat the crap out of me. I got no offense whatsoever. And I deserve to get the crap kicked out of me. But, I took it as a learning experience. So.
Absolutely, and that's that's at least cool that you could take at least a learning experience away from something like that. I mean, if I was to wrestle Sabu, I too would probably be the exact same, I would believe. Okay, I have to bring it up because we've had several ECW guys on the show who were here on this date, July 16th, 2000. Heatwave 2000. I'm sorry. I know you've probably been asked about it a million times, but
it's all right. It's fine.
That's okay. Well, I'm glad because I don't want to be annoying with some of these, oh, here we go again with the same question. But I want to make a big compilation video where everyone that we can possibly get on the show, eventually I want to do a big compilation of everyone that was there with their side of the story. And this is the first time I'm going to get an XPW side of the story. I've had about 8 guys now, including Jack and Chili Willy and Big Sal and CW Anderson, Jim Molyneux, a whole bunch of guys. But I wanted to ask your point of view. I'm so excited. I have avoided looking for the answer because I know you've answered this in other interviews. Because I want to learn it, hearing it from you right here, right now. Please tell me about this.
Well, I mean, basically, we went to the XPW show just to show our T-shirts, to get on camera and show our T-shirts. That's all it was. We weren't invading or anything like that. I know you got to see Rob Black. Rob thought he was a mafia guy. And in his mind, ECW was coming into our territory, our turf. The other thing that I mean, the guys that went to the show, we were just pawns. I mean, that's all it was. But I had no idea that Rob and Paul Heyman had a relationship prior to XPW starting. So Rob had some hatred for Paul Heyman because I think Rob at one point was, before he did XPW, he was trying to, he's going to try to help them with a, distribution deal to get, their tapes or DVDs. I don't even know if there was DVDs at the time, but VHS tapes into stores. And I believe Paul or ECW got the deal with, was it Pioneer Home Video or something like that? I can't remember the name. I think it was
maybe RF Video.
Not RF Video. It was the one that ECW had never had. They weren't able to get their tapes into like Best Buys and things like that. So Rob was going to help him do that. And for whatever reason, the whole thing fell apart and Rob got pissed off about it. So when ECW came to LA, Rob was like, dude, these guys are coming to our turf. So the idea was just said, like, why don't we get tickets and, we show our T-shirts. And that's all it was. We just wanted to show a T-shirt. We get to the venue, get to the events. Atlas Security meets us there right out front and proceeds to tell us, hey, guys, you can't come in here with these T-shirts on. You got to flip them over. Like, okay. And then someone asked to see one of our tickets. And I believe it was Patrick Hernandez, the XPW, he was a referee in XPW. He gave him his ticket. His ticket was for the nosebleed section. So they thought we were in the nosebleed section, I'm assuming. I don't know. We get in and we all turn our shirts inside out. So it's just black, black shirts, whatever. And we just watch the show. I mean, I've been told by guys, the ECW guys, like, they were under the impression that we were going to jump the fence or jump the railing and try to do like that was never, going to happen. We were just there to, hey, try to get some free publicity, and show our T-shirts on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But we were sitting hard cam. Our backs were to the hard cam, so you didn't even see us. You really didn't. I was later told by like Vic Grimes, because I think Vic was at the pay-per-view with ECW. He said like Jasmine St. Clair was in the back. Because Jasmine had used to work for XPW and used to work for the adult side. She was a contract girl.
Right.
And she had a falling out with Rob Black or whatever, and she hated Rob. And so Vic Grimes said that Jasmine St. Clair was in the back, and I guess they had one of the cameras on us, and she proceeded to point us out to like whoever back there. Oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, and essentially got like the boys riled up about how we were going to jump the railing and do something, and we never were going to do that. Well, fast forward to the main events, because during the show we just sat there, and we were instructed not to like mark out or anything like that, or but dude, if I saw something cool, I'd clap and go, dude, that was awesome, like holy crap. Like I remember watching RVD's match with Scotty Anton or Scott. Yeah, Scotty Anton, he was going by at the time. He did whatever move, and he hits the move, and he's up in the corner right above us, and he just looks at us. It was me and Chaos. He just looked down at us, and he's like, I know you guys are impressed. And I looked up, and I'm like, yeah, like, dude, that was freaking awesome what you just did. Yeah, of course. Like, I was clapping, like, whatever. So fast forward to the main event, and I can't remember. Well, essentially what happened was it was like a game of playing telephone. Like someone would whisper this to this person, this, and the edict had come down from Rob, who was originally supposed to be at, I was under the impression Rob Black and Lizzy Borden were going to be at that ECW show. Seats were bought for them. They may not have been, they weren't planning on sitting in the front row, but they were going to sit in the nosebleed section. Well, they decided not to show up, which I thought was kind of chicken shit. And that was just me, though. And I guess Kevin Kleinrock was on the phone with Rob because he had a cell phone. And the edict had come down to, during the main event, right before the main event starts, stand up and show the XPW t-shirts. Well, it was, like I said, it was a game of telephone. Someone whispered to somebody, blah, blah, blah. I was the last guy on the end. So by the time it had got to me, I believe it was when Christy Mist stands up, everybody stands up and show your t-shirts. So by the time it had gotten down to me, Christy had stood up. I didn't even have time to react to what I was just told. And it was like, what? And then sure enough, like Supreme stands up, Chaos stands up, I stand up. As soon as I stand up, I feel an arm or somebody try to pull me over the guardrail. I was able to get away. I think it was one of the Atlas security guys, but they tried to pull me over the guardrail. Essentially, because if you watch the video, then the locker room comes out. If one of us had been over the guardrail, they would have proceeded just to put the boots to beat the shit out of us. Because then they were trying to say that like one of us tried to grab Francine, and Francine has even said like, no one's tried to grab me. No, no one. Yeah, it had nothing to do. No one tried to grab her. We were just trying to show t-shirts. That was it. When I tried to get pulled over the guardrail, I get pulled away, and I feel somebody come up behind me and put my hands behind my back. I don't know if it was LAPD, because we were told by Atlas Security before we had come in, like, if you try to show your t-shirts, LAPD is gonna escort you out of the building. I'm like, okay. So it might have been just security, I don't know, but I had my hand behind me. We had all gotten separated. I was with Chaos. I was with Joey. Like Supreme, Christy Mist, Homeless Jimmy, they got escorted someplace a different way. But as Chaos and myself were getting escorted, I feel this wallop on the back of my head. I was like, what the hell was that? And it, it didn't really hurt, but it was like, what the? I turn around. It's this old fan that, it has like a week old worth of stubble on his face. It's all gray, long hair, balding on top, just yelling at me like, you mother effers. And I was like, okay, some old fan just hit me. We get escorted out of the building. I turn around, they let me go. And the same old man is just yelling at me. And then I realize it's Paul Heyman. I'm like, holy crap, Paul Heyman just hit me upside the head. You mother effers, hit me. He's doing, hit me, and then he spit at me. And I didn't react. And I looked at Paul and said, Paul, we just wanted to show our shirts. That's all we wanted to do. We just wanted to show our shirts. And then when he realized he couldn't get a rise out of me, he goes over to Chaos and then spits at Chaos. Joey I put my arm in front of Joey, like, hey, Joey would have lunged at him. Because I don't know if Joey realized that was Paul Heyman either. He honestly looked like just a drunk fan. Just the way he looked. And I'm like, Paul, we're not going to hit you. We're not going to hit you. We just wanted to show our t-shirts. That's it. You mother pussies. It spits on the floor and then goes back in the building. Doors closed behind him. And so Chaos and I were just out, on the street. Okay, so we start walking. All of a sudden, because we don't know where Supreme or Christie or Homeless Jimmy, we don't know where anybody is. All of a sudden, a door flies open and a bunch of the locker room comes out. And I distinctly remember Kid Cash. And I want to say was it Big Sal?
Yeah.
And Big Sal, and maybe even crap. How did I forget his name? Oh my gosh, so horrible. Balls Mahoney. They were in front of me, and Kid Cash was like, "What's up? What's up?" And I said the same thing that I said to Paul. We were just trying to show our t-shirts, man. That's all we were doing. That's it. We weren't trying to jump the guardrail. We weren't trying to do none of that. Said you guys overreacted. Said you guys did. And they left Chaos and I alone. That was it. What's funny is if you talk to Joey, if you talk to Chaos uses the term, he'll say, Billy did some Jedi mind trick on these guys. And they didn't kick our ass. Like, I distinctly just remember, we just wanted to show our t-shirts. You guys did this. All of this is all you guys. We weren't trying to jump the guardrail. And they just proceeded to walk away. The next thing I remember, and I don't know if it was seconds or minutes later, but there's like some melee going on in the parking lot. And I see Homeless Jimmy just doing this to somebody, like doing this. I remember it being Chili Willy. I don't know if it was or not, but I remember it being Chili Willy. That was it. They go back into the building and we were just left outside. That was it. I know there's this narrative that, those guys from XPW came and got their asses kicked and blah, blah, blah. Dude, I didn't get touched except by Paul. So, but none of us, like, I didn't see any fights or anybody throwing punches except for Jimmy doing whatever again, I think it was Chili Willy. I might be wrong, but I think it was Chili Willy. That's all I remember. I do remember we had a kid on our ring crew that we called Roadkill because he looked like Roadkill from ECW. He just had this huge, long, Amish looking beard or whatever. But his tooth was chipped because he had gotten the crap kicked out of him. And essentially, the locker room kicked the crap out of a bunch of the street team kids.
Right.
Unfortunately, those kids, because I'm pretty sure, I don't even know if those kids were in the building during the show. They were probably just out in the parking lot flyering. And the door opens and the workers see a bunch of people or guys wearing XPW t-shirts. and then
Right.
just proceeded to beat the crap out of them. No, we didn't get touched. So anybody talking about how the XPW locker room got the crap kicked out of them, never happened. Never,
Okay.
ever happened.
Now I'm understanding. Yeah, now I'm understanding, because I always read like, oh, the ring crew or something like that were the ones that got beat up. I didn't know how many of the actual locker room was actually there. I'm still watching ECW chronologically, and I haven't got to Heatwave 2000 yet, so I haven't actually seen it happen yet. I just know of it and I remember from watching some stuff many years back. But
dude, it's honestly,
interesting.
it's not like you see a lot of. I mean, the whole thing lasted 10 seconds or so. I mean, it wasn't like it was this huge thing, but I distinctly remember I drove back. We ended up after after that it all happened. We all went to Rob Black's house, and
Right.
I was with. I went in Chaos's car. We're just driving, and Joey, he was kind of like, yeah, man, yeah, like fuck yeah, like we. Not that we accomplished something, but like we didn't back down or something like that, which we didn't, you know. But I told Joey in the car, I went, dude, this is wrong. This is wrong. This should have never happened. And in the back of my head, I'm also thinking, where the hell is Rob? This was Rob's
Yeah.
idea. He's not here. We get to Rob's house, and Lizzy Borden like opens the door, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And she's so happy, giving a hug. And but I distinctly remember just going, "This was wrong. This should have never happened." I mean, and I'm not saying, were we wrong on our side? Yeah. Should we have stood up? Absolutely not. It was disrespectful. Shouldn't have happened. But the ECW locker room was so riled up and ready to kick someone's ass because they were told a bunch of stuff by Jasmine St. Clair or whoever that we were going to do something. So be prepared. Those guys, I mean, when you watch it, you'll see those guys came out of the back super quick. Those guys were waiting for something to happen. They wanted something to happen. They did. It was just it was stupid all around on everybody's part. I've had the opportunity to tell like Just Incredible sorry, like dude, I'm sorry, because it was during his main event with Tommy that we did that. I mean, again, I don't know if he remembers me doing it, but I did it. I apologize to him because he was a super nice guy. But I've never had the opportunity to, tell Tommy Dreamer, "Hey, dude, I'm sorry, man. That should have never happened." Or even Paul Heyman. Like I did a couple of shows with Kid Cash in Detroit, and we were talking, and I had mentioned, or XPW, blah blah blah, and I can't remember how we got to the conversation, but I was like, "Yeah, oh, yeah, dude, you came out and you got in my face." He goes, "I did." Like he didn't recognize me or didn't know who. Like, yeah, dude. He's like, "Oh, okay." Kid Cat, one of the coolest guys, nicest guys in the world. But it was dumb all around. It should have never happened. I mean, when we got to Rob's house, I remember Rob in front of us. He got in his cell phone and he called Paul Heyman and left. I mean, for all I know, it could have been an answering service that he was calling. I don't know, but he called Paul Heyman and just left him a message, just gloating and blah 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 or whatever. In Rob Black's mind, good publicity, bad publicity, it's all publicity. Doesn't matter. There's no such thing as bad publicity. It gets eyes on you. There is such thing as bad publicity. There just is. And I just remember going, dude, we're not going to be painted in the greatest light here. We're just not. And we weren't. And did we deserve it? Yeah, part of me says yeah. But I mean, we were a bunch of young guys who just, were trying to, live our dream, being a professional wrestler in a company. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we drank the Kool-Aid, like they did with Rob Black, or the guys did with Paul Heyman and ECW. We just drank the Kool-Aid. But it always makes me laugh when people ask me about it. Just because Yeah, dude, I didn't get touched. They beat up our ring crew kids. Like, okay, you want to brag about it, be my guest, but you didn't touch any of us, none of the workers, quote unquote.
Right. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that side of the story.
Yeah, no problem.
Now I have both sides. That's fantastic, bro. You're wearing the shirt right now. I want to bring up working with Supreme for the King of the Deathmatch title. You win the belt at November 11th, 2000 at the Metal Fest Open Air in San Bernardino. That sounds interesting. Can you tell me about that?
It was a metal fest show. It was metal music.
Yeah.
Last thing they wanted to see was wrestling. They but yeah, I wrestled Supreme. It was essentially we were just like a sideshow. You know what was fun? It is, if you can ever find the show or matches from the show. Specifically, I believe the main event of that show was Sabu versus Big Dick Dudley versus Cronus. A show like that, like especially with all those bands, they got a set time. You need to be done by this time so the next band can go on and so forth. Well, they gave us a set time and said, if you guys aren't done, you need to be done by this point because we have a band on the stage that is going to get ready that needs to start. So during the main event, all of a sudden you just hear like this guitar riff and you're the guys on the stage had started. We went past our time. And so Cronus, Sabu, and Big Dick Dudley proceed to then make their way to start fighting, in the crowd, make their way to the stage. And I guess to like mess with the band. But the lead singer, I swear to God, the guy had to have been 6'6", like was built like just muscle bound. Like he wasn't intimidated of these guys at all. And they proceed to like just, beat each other up around the singer who is no selling what they're doing and doesn't care. But that whole show was, I believe it was what we refer to as a sold show. Someone paid for the show.
Right.
They gave down a certain amount and whatever. We did the show and I wrestled Supreme. I've had better matches with Supreme than that show. But what was funny about that show is that right after that show, Supreme and Christy missed because I believe Christy, she got bled on in the match by Supreme or something like that because she was managing Supreme at the time. They went from there straight to the airport and got on a flight to Japan because they then had to go. Then Supreme was going to go wrestle for FMW, so they didn't even get a chance to take a shower or nothing like that. It just sounded so nasty to me being but it was just a weird, whacked out show. I mean, it was the dumbest thing in the world. I mean, but it was memorable. That was sure.
Awesome, bro. I just had to bring it up because I noticed that you wrestled at a metal festival. Before I move on, I wanted to just, again, we're hitting another name there. There's some names that are very synonymous with XPW back in these days. Supreme is one of them. Can you please share like a nice story, of your memories of him?
Lester was, he honestly was like the greatest guy. I think I've only ever seen like Lester in a bad mood like once. He was extremely giving. Like if you went out to dinner with him, 9 times out of 10 you'd go, I got it, he'd pay for it. He was just very giving like that. He loved XPW and he loved like deathmatch wrestling. He'd tell you that. He during that ECW, the quote unquote invasion that we had. I remember Tommy Dreamer, right when like everything happened and the locker room started coming out. Tommy Dreamer just looked at Supreme and just basically said something to the effect of, kiss your career goodbye, or you just messed up your career. And Lester looked up at him and was like, what are you talking about? Like, Lester wasn't trying to go to WWE. You know, he was absolutely happy being an XPW and doing deathmatch wrestling. He loved that stuff. You know, he was an amazing father, you know, an awesome husband. He used to, every show, his wife and his son would be at every show. He was just a good, all around, nice, fun loving guy. And what's funny is we look at him, you know, you just see a big, you know, bald headed guy with tattoos everywhere. You know, some people, you know, be intimidated by that. He'd put you at ease right away. Just the nicest guy. You know, he and I, you know, back in XPW, like I got my eyebrow pierced. You know, he went and got like either his nose or he got like this right here pierced. And, you know, we used to do stuff with each other all the time. He was a great guy. And, you know, he's sorely missed, terribly missed. And, you know, he loved performing in front of fans. He just did. He loved it. He absolutely did. You know, if there was, you know, it doesn't matter what show he was at, if every person there came up to him and asked for an autograph or a picture, he would happily do it. If it meant he was there for hours, he's there for hours. He loved doing that stuff.
Awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that with me. That's really cool.
Thank you for asking.
No problem. ECW folds in January of 2001. When you first heard about that, how did XPW feel?
Again, just me being just ignorant to everything. Okay, cool. And also in the back of my mind, like, okay, cool. Maybe some of these guys will come here. But then again, the whole Heatwave thing had happened, so you never know. But you know, it was. I think, you know, in Rob's mind, he was vindicated. You know, because you had heard rumors for however long about guys' their checks bouncing. You know, in fact, when Sabu came to XPW, part of his deal, I believe, was because he was still under contract with ECW, but I don't think he was getting paid. And so when he came to XPW, Rob was like, all right, you know, I'll fight the lawyers, or I'll pick up the tab for the lawyers to get you out of your contract, you know? So yeah, when ECW folded, I didn't think anything of it really. It was a place I always wanted to work and thought I could do well at. So see, in that aspect, it was kind of sad, but you know, it was didn't think in a million years then, you know, WCW would close and then you'd only have WWE.
Yeah.
But you know, it was yeah. If I'm being honest, I don't remember having feelings about it one way or another. Just like, oh, that sucks if some guys were out of work and it's kind of shitty, you know. But you know, it is what it is. And you know, also, if I'm being honest, it'd be like, have some of these guys come over here because I'd love to work with this guy or that guy, you know. So in that aspect, it was kind of exciting because, you know, just the opportunity to work some of these guys, because my whole mindset has always been I want to work somebody I can learn from. So when like Chris Candido, Sabu, like New Jack, even, like I learned a lot from New Jack. If you're not taking the time to pick these guys' brain and try to get everything out of it that you can, it's kind of a wasted opportunity. And a lot of these guys too, they want someone to come up and ask questions. But some guy, you know, you're intimidated. You don't want to come off as I'm bugging this guy or anything like that. And you know, when Shane Douglas came to XPW, I couldn't wait to like pick his brain and ask him questions about stuff. So you know, in that respect, with ECW closing, it was like, all right, maybe I can learn something from some of these guys. I mean, that was my hope at least. So, but I mean, that was basically it.
I understand. And I'm guessing after WCW went out of business, XPW surely had an event called "And Then There Were Two." Is that has to be it?
Yeah. Yeah. Then there was two. Well, what was funny, here's the thing, like I used to get in arguments with Rob. Rob was one of these guys who, if you think it, you know, if you have the mindset, you can make it happen. So if you think you're the number one company, you will become the number one company. Kind of thing, like, you know, the book's The Secret, you know, I guess. Like, he would always say, or even like his adult company, you know, he would refer to his adult company as the number one company in the world. Like, dude, there's Vivid, there's Wicked, like there's all these other bigger, no one knows who's Extreme Associates is. Well, if you think that way, it's never going to happen. Okay, I mean, I guess I see your point. But he would do that all the time. And I remember I got into an argument with him one time about, how are we calling us number 4? What do you mean? Dude, we run one show a month. There are indies out there that do more than one show a month, that do a show every week. But we're number 4? Oh, if you think, Billy, if you're going to think that way, it'll never happen. You can't think of it like that. Like, but that's what it is. That's how it is. Just because you say you are something doesn't mean you're it. You know, I've always gotten a chuckle out of that mindset of, you know, if you say something enough, it becomes true. Like, no, it doesn't. It's still untrue. So I mean, it was just silly and stupid. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's cool, bro. I mean, look, I am the richest man in the world.
Yep, there you go.
No, I'm not. I've actually got $25 in my bank account right now. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you think of it, you think that you're going to be a millionaire. You are. No, you're not. You're still you're not a millionaire. Like, yeah.
XPW Redemption, May 26, 2001. You beat New Jack to become the XPW World Heavyweight Champion. You're a double champion now at this point. Pretty big moment in your career. How did it feel? How was the show? How was the match?
I mean, it was cool. If I'm being honest, I didn't want to win the title because New Jack was subbing for Sabu, who was, I believe, in Japan. I don't know why the XPW office felt the need to take the belt off of Sabu then, especially given the fact that the month prior when I wrestled Sabu, I mean, Sabu's like, hey, I'm not going to be here for next month's show. Why don't we have Messiah go over on me? And then when I come back, I'll you know, I can beat him for the belt or whatever. Rob didn't want to do it. And I just remember thinking, like, if Sabu's offering to put me over, like, what the hell? What's the problem? You know? Unfortunately, there was stuff going on in the back scenes of XPW, specifically between Rob Black and a guy named Josh Lizzy. He was Sabu's manager. Which I mean, I wasn't aware of it until much, much, much later. But Rob wanted Lizzy out of the company. And the problem Rob had was that the only person Sabu really liked was Lizzy. Lizzy, for all intents and purposes, was Sabu's handler. So whatever the decision was made, New Jack was going to sub for Sabu, and I was going to beat New Jack for the title. Like, I didn't beat Sabu for the title. And if you know anything about XPW's illustrious world heavyweight title history, it hasn't been the belt hasn't changed hands on the best of circumstances. I believe Jake Lawless gave the belt to Damien Steele for a bag of Coke and some cash. These are all storylines. Like,
Oh my God, yeah.
Chris Candido he got the title stripped. You know, like, let's try to build up the prestige of this title.
Yeah.
Like, it's a real prize, not something that you can take off somebody because you disagree with them or whatever, you know. But for whatever reason, they had me beat New Jack, and New Jack was awesome. There's a moment in the match where New Jack, I think I threw a punch at him, and he makes his way to the corner, and he just turns around and looks at me, yells, "You hit like a bitch." And the whole entire arena went like crazy, and I just saw red. And for whatever reason, I did like a Dusty Rhodes elbow to his forehead, and then I just proceeded to just beat him down in the corner. And I remember New Jack going, "There you go, there you go." I think he said, "There you go, mother effer." Like, he knew he was getting something out of me. He knew he was doing it, because if New Jack wanted to have cut me off, he could have just cut me off. Wrestling him, because I think that was the first time I wrestled him. It was a great experience. He was really cool, and I was always very appreciative that he put me over, because New Jack is very much like how Sabu was, which was he's not going to put over. He doesn't like putting people over if he doesn't have to, or if it doesn't make sense, and blah blah. So it was a good, fun experience. Again, I just wish I had won the title. Not in that way, like I really won it from Sabu or whoever was the real champion at the time, not a sub, because it just makes no sense. It makes it confusing for the fans. And I remember Josh Lizzy told me that he had spoke to Sabu on the phone after the show, and Sabu was like, "So how'd the show go?" Went well. All right. Messiah beat New Jack for the title. And he said, Sabu said, "Bullshit." Like, New Jack, because Sabu was busting his ass. He was legitimately taking that title, making it a world title. He was taking it to Mexico, Japan, and defending it. It was a legitimate world title that he was taking, which I don't think Rob understood it. That's what he was doing. And to have me beat New Jack for it, not Sabu, all the work that Sabu had been doing for months, or he might have even been the champion for a year at that point. I can't remember. It was all for nothing. It made no sense whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got to interview New Jack last year. Got to interview Sabu about 6 months ago. So it made New Jack rest in peace. And great to hear that story with him. But yeah, you're right, bro. Like, it's nonsensical to do something like that. You really want the prestige of the title to be upheld. And if he's working his butt off to really make that a world championship, then it would mean so much more for you to beat him specifically for the belt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. As the interview is wearing on, I'm becoming things are becoming more clear to me about certain things. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask about Lizzy. I have to.
It's fine. It's cool.
Thanks, bro. I'm sorry, but I have to know.
You got nothing to apologize about, man. Don't worry about it.
Cool, bro. So could you tell me how this situation with you and her began, and
no one's ever asked me that question. It usually goes to, so why'd you get fired, or why'd you leave, that kind of thing. With Lizzy, it was just I'm trying to figure out how do I answer this. It was just for whatever reason, Rob paired Lizzy and I together. I don't know why. It was never explained to me. I think it was just because Supreme had Christy. Lizzy wanted to be involved, or Rob wanted Lizzy involved, and Supreme and I were feuding. So just put Lizzy, because keep in mind, when I first started the Messiah character, or the gimmick, even though I was a heel, I was a bad guy. I was against XPW. I was against everything XPW stood for, the sex and violence, and then I show up to a show one day, and I'm part of the Black Army. I'm part of Rob Black's Black Army. It was never explained to me why. I just was. And I didn't question it. It was just, okay, cool. Good. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy I'm wrestling. So Lizzy got paired with me, And she and I had, I guess, good chemistry with each other because we would always shoot vignettes and stuff like that. Which you asked me like how it was to be at XPW. Like that was probably the funnest times I had. In XPW, we were just shooting the vignettes like at 1 in.the.morning with Supreme or Chaos or whatever, and we're trying to get a shot of something. It was that stuff was always fun. Always had a blast doing that. But I ended up started working at the XPW offices, and when I first started wrestling for XPW, I was working at a place called Claim Jumper, which was a steak restaurant. And back then, it was like the guys weren't even allowed to have facial hair or anything like that. You dressed real nice, and but I'm doing hardcore wrestling, so I didn't show up to work with a Band-Aid on my head because I had gotten busted open or whatever, and I would get sent home. Like no one wants their waiter or the person making their food to have a Band-Aid on. Like I completely understood it. And so I'd go to the XPW office and Rob would go, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Dude, I just got sent home." I'm like, "Why?" "'Cause look at my head. I can't." Like, so I basically got the balls one day just to ask Rob, like, "Give me a job. Can I have a job?" Because I hated doing what I was doing. And Rob was kind enough. I'm like, "Okay, I'll give you a job." So I started working at the XPW offices / the Extreme Associates offices, the adult side of the company. And I do things like, make deliveries or whatever, but Lizzie would be around a lot. And she and I just, we got on with each other really well, joking and goofing off. And the other thing too is when I started working at the XPW offices, granted it's a wrestling company, but the wrestling company didn't make money. It really didn't make money. What paid the bills was the adult side of everything. And when you had like when you had the ex girls, when you had like Jessica Darlin, who was a contract girl, Christy Metz, a contract girl, Lizzie, all three of them were really super nice to me, and sometimes even motherly, like looking over me. But I was again, I'm not trying to like talk myself up, but I was kind of seen like a brand new puppy. Like I wasn't used to the adult side. I never worked in it. So like everyone else is jaded to it.
Right.
Like, oh, there's a naked chick walking by. You know what I mean? Like, so they like Jessica would refer to people outside of the adult world as civilians, and I was a civilian. And the three of them basically like would how can I put this? They would they would sexually harass me like all the time. And I'll be honest with you, it was awesome. It was awesome. I was getting attention.
Obviously.
So I was just seeing like a brand new puppy. It was just like we can mess with it because I wasn't jaded to it or anything like that. And they would do it to other people too, just not me. But for whatever reason, like Rob paired Lizzie and I together, and when Lizzie and Rob, who were a couple in real life, Rob was very controlling. And again, this is all stuff I heard from Lizzie, and for all I know, she was straight up lying to me. She probably was. I don't know. But Rob was very controlling. He didn't like it. Like she wasn't allowed to wear anything brown or like stupid stuff like that. He had to know where she was at like all the time. And he was very controlling when it came to like who she hung out with. For whatever reason, Rob was cool with me and Lizzie hanging out. And I'm not saying like we hang out, like go to the movie or anything like that, but like talking to each other in the office or whatever. And like there was one time we did a show, and Rob's like, he gave me the keys to Lizzie's Porsche because he had bought Lizzie a Porsche. Rob was a big one of these guys, like he wanted everybody to believe the gimmick. You hear about like how Ted DiBiase became the $1 Million Man, and Vince McMahon wanted him giving out like $100 bills, really, and always being in first class and limos. Like he wanted him to live the gimmick kind of thing. Well, Rob wanted the fans to see Lizzie and I together all the time. And so like he threw me the keys to the Porsche to go pick up Lizzie at the house. And, you know, dude, at the time I'm driving like a 1986 Ford Tempo. Like, so like, all right, I pick her up and then I come back, you know, to the venue, and, you know, we're driving in the parking lot, and all the fans are like, oh, look, there's Lizzie and Messiah, and he's driving a Porsche. Like, he wanted us to, you know, look the part essentially. But I also think Rob used to like to have Lizzie like flirt with guys. Like, Rob was good friends with Bubba Ray Dudley, and when the WWE would come in town, you know, Bubba would like come to the office, or there was one time we went to the Rainbow Room, met like everybody, like a bunch of the guys there. But, you know, Lizzie told me Rob would tell her like flirt with Bubba, you know, kind of thing. I think in the case of Lizzie, because there was a time where I was thinking about leaving and like going up north. It didn't mean I was going to leave XPW, but I want to be here for like to do vignettes and stuff like that. And in all honesty, if I needed to, if I couldn't have been part of XPW, then I wouldn't have been part of XPW. But Lizzie told me Rob got concerned that I was going to leave. I think Rob just had Lizzie do what he always had Lizzie do with guys. And I think she just took it too far. I mean, that's what I think would happen. It just got taken too far. So, you know, it was a relationship I should have never have had with her. I should have gotten fired, deserved to get fired. But, you know, for whatever reason, like when you read about it, it's always put on my shoulders. Like, you can ask my wife. I have no game. It's not like hey, what's up? Like, I got nothing. But for some reason, you hear about like how it's always me. It's never, you know, there was two people that were involved in everything, but it's always on me, which I think is ridiculous and funny at the same time. But yeah, it was just, the relationship just got taken too far. Shouldn't have gone where it went. Yeah, I mean that was basically it. It was yeah, it was just a screwed up situation all around.
Right. Were there feelings involved? Did you both have feelings for each other, or was it just the situation just went too far and it was?
To be honest with you, at the time, on my end, yes. But as soon as everything stopped, it was basically being like, you know, you always hear about being in the bubble, you know, like you're in the bubble. Once you get out of the bubble, you know, things become more clearer, you know, or it's, you know, I can equate it to, you know, Wizard of Oz, you know, everything's black and white, and then boom, everything's in color. Like, it wasn't until everything had, like, I left XPW and I was in CZW. I was doing well for myself. I started believing in myself again and realized I didn't need like, I didn't need the XPW machine behind pushing me. Like, I am talented. Like, people do want to use me, because I know when I left XPW, or when I got fired from XPW, in Rob's mind, you were never going to hear about me ever again. Because before XPW, it wasn't like I was doing the California indie scene. I wasn't.
Right.
I didn't really even know how to. And then when I went to CZW, that really gave me a lot of confidence in myself. And I realized, you know, like, dude, what the hell did I just, like, there was a lot of things going on in my life at the time in XPW that Lizzie knew about, and I think she took advantage. You know, involving like an ex-girlfriend, that kind of stuff. And Lizzie at the time had become friends with my roommates, because again, Rob was very controlling, but like, Lizzie needed to get her hair done. My roommate was a hairdresser. So it was like, okay, she started going to my roommate to get her hair done and everything. And my roommate would tell me like, all she did was ask questions about you and like why this didn't work out with so and so, or why you and so and so broke up and blah blah blah. I was like, okay, whatever. So I think like I said, she took it friggin' way too far, and so did I. I'm not saying I wasn't part of that, but it was. I mean, I think back to it now, and just like I was a 24-year-old kid living on my own. My family were in different states. I was living in a garage. My life was XPW, meaning I went to work there, then I'd wrestle there. I was there 24 hours a day almost, 6 days a week. I mean, I was easy pickings. I really was. So it was just, I made dumb decisions as a 24-year-old guy. It was just dumb. And, I'll be honest, I don't regret anything from the standpoint of all the bad shit that's happened, and along with all the good stuff. But all the, that stuff, gives you character. It builds you up. And without all the bad stuff happening, I never would have met my wife. I wouldn't have my 2 daughters now. So I don't regret any of that stuff. And at the same time, I don't think back about it either. It's not like I dwell on any of that crap. If someone like yourself asks a question, I'll answer it, and I got no problem answering it. But I don't regret it, because without all that stuff happening, I never would have met my wife, and I wouldn't have my 2 daughters, and I wouldn't have the life I have now. So that's about it. It's I kind of think things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to wait for that reason to pop up or show itself. But if all that stuff had to happen in order for me to meet my wife and have my kids, like, all right, cool, all right.
Of course. Excellent way to look at it. Things happen for a reason, and your journey in life, you get to different crossroads, and you go this direction, you never know what would have happened. You go that direction, you never know what would have happened. So at least now, at this stage of your life, no matter what's happened, you have this peace, which is really nice to hear. And again, thank you so much for being so honest and telling me about all of that, because that's for me on my show. This is really important to hear those kind of personal stories, because it's not just about what was it like having this match or that match. The journey of somebody's life is just so important to something like this for me. So I appreciate
of course,
it.
man. Yeah. No worries. I honestly, I mean, and to a detriment, I'm probably too honest sometimes. Like, just keep your mouth freaking shut, Billy. Like, but it is, and people are going to think what they want to think. I learned long ago that not everyone's going to like me, because there was a time where, like, if I read like one bad thing about a match I had, I would dwell on that. What do I care about strangers? Like, I don't give a shit. I just don't. Like, as long as my wife likes me, my kids like me, my parents like me, my friends like me, like, that's all I care about. What do I care about some keyboard idiot in his mom's basement in Canada? Like, I don't care. Like, it just I learned long ago, not everyone's gonna like me, and I'm fine with that. You're gonna have your reasons why or whatever it is, but it has no bearing on what I do or what I think. And everyone's entitled to their own opinions and what they think about somebody. So by all means, like, say what you want to say. And then, quite honestly, it's not going to affect me one bit. It's not. I do what you want to do. And without, when it comes down to it, it's just, if you like me, awesome, thank you. If you don't like me, cool. All right, next. I mean, that's whatever. That's all it is. Yeah.
Cool, bro. And I like you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Get into a little bit of CZW talk. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do want to talk a little bit about CZW because this is a very important part of your career. I guess word is on the street that you're not in XPW anymore. Does John Zandig get in touch? How does that opportunity come about for you to debut on the 12th of January 2002 to take on Justice Payne at Answering the Challenge at the old ECW arena?
Yeah, Zandig reached out to me. I was at home, my phone rang, and at the time I was screening my calls, and the answering machine turns on, and I just hear this. I think, if I remember right, it was hello. I'm looking for Billy, the Messiah. This is John Zandig, CZW. I thought it was Jake Lawless from XPW pulling a rib on me, because Jake is from Philly and he has that accent and everything. I thought he was just pulling a rib on me. So I answer the phone and I'm like, hello? He's like, is this Billy? I said, yes. He goes, so you're not with that porno company anymore, huh? It's like, no, I'm not. He goes, okay, well, I'm John Zandig with CZW. I don't know if you're familiar with me or with us. And I was familiar with CZW, the name, but none of the product. Like, the only thing I ever saw of CZW was in the wrestling magazines. And it usually involved a weed whacker. Like, okay.
Right.
But he had asked me if I would be interested to come in to wrestle their champion, Justice Payne. He was like, well, what are you doing this weekend? And I said, well, I got a booking. Why? He's like, well, yeah, I'd like to bring you in to wrestle our champions, Justice Payne. And I knew instantly why he wanted me. It was to bring the guy from, the XP, or from the West Coast, extreme fed, quote unquote, and then bring him out to CZW and let their champion go over on, the XPW channel. I completely understand. It was a one-off. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. But I told him, yeah, let me make a call and see if I can get out of the booking. I called a guy named Logan, who ran a promotion called MPW in California.
Yeah.
And I explained the situation, and he was awesome. He goes, dude, I completely understand. Dude, go. It's a great opportunity for you. Yeah, by all means. He let me out of the booking. I called John, and then like a day or two days later, I was on a plane heading to Philly.
Wow. Really cool.
I did the show I did the match with Justice Payne. And during that match, I had gotten busted open hard way on the top of my head. So I was in the back in the locker room getting staples in the back of my head. And Zandig just came up to me and he essentially went, good match. I was like, oh, thanks. And then he went, you want to come back next month? It's like, yeah, sure, of course, yeah, that'd be great. And from that point on, I was with CZW. It just worked out. It all worked out. I'm eternally grateful to Zandig for bringing me in, and because when you talk to Zandig, like Zandig, he always downplays everything. He sells everybody. So when I talked to him on the phone originally, he said, yeah, I've never seen any of your work, but a couple of my guys say you know how to work. Like, oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, don't know anything about you, but guys say you can wrestle. Like, oh, okay, thanks. Like, all right. But when I got to CZW, the first thing I did in that locker room, I shook everybody's hands, because that's the way I was taught. And like Adam Flash, I don't know if you're familiar with Adam Flash. The running joke is, he's walking in with his bag and he sees me in the ring with Payne going over stuff, and he's like, who's that turd? And like our buddy Chad Henry, who's a scout with the Indianapolis Colts. I was like, oh, I think that's Messiah from XPW. Oh, he's all right. And Chad said that Flash looked back at me and then looked back at Chad and just went, yeah, it still looks like a turd. I'm like, okay. And that night, I won a lot of the guys over, I guess. And because when I started coming in regularly for CZW, those guys accepted me, and it was like I had been there for years. I mean, that locker room was probably the best locker room I've ever been part of.
Awesome, bro. And that was my next question. There's not too many left. Thank you again for your time. I wanted you to compare the CZW locker room to the XPW locker room and the differences between the two.
The biggest differences, for one, were there were no ECW guys really in the CZW locker room. That locker room, when you go into a locker room, you usually have your cliques. You got a group of guys in this corner, a group of guys in that corner, and it's just natural for that to happen. Doesn't mean people hate each other, but you got your boys that you hang out with. In CZW, you didn't really have that. It felt like everybody hung out with everyone. Like the day before a show, usually I would fly into Philly, and we would all go to a bar called the Berwyn Tavern that Ian Knox worked at, and like everybody was welcome to come. And a lot of times, it felt like the whole entire locker room was there. It was a good group of guys, talented guys too. Because when I did that first show for CZW, I stayed at Nick Gage's and Justice Payne's house. I didn't know they were brothers at the time. And I asked Nicky, I'm like, hey, you got any video on Payne so I can see, what he does in the ring? He's like, yeah. Because Justice Payne wasn't there that night. He had stayed the night with his girlfriend or something like that, which was his birthday. So I didn't meet Payne until the very next morning. And that night I watched videos, but the first video I watched was Cage of Death 3. And I was going to watch it just strictly for Justice Payne's match. I ended up watching the whole entire show from beginning to end. And I just remember thinking to myself, what do these guys want with me? Holy crap. These guys are amazing. Everybody here is amazing. And after the match I had with Payne, I think a lot of the guys accepted me, because again, I didn't walk in there with a big head or anything like that. Like I said, I felt like I had been there for years. With XPW, it was very much the same thing, but you had the ECW guys, that would stay to themselves. Occasionally would come over and say what's up, but they would stay to themselves. Just in CZW definitely had more of that family atmosphere. If anybody needed anything, we would all help out.
Awesome. Well, that's nice to hear. You found a new home. It's a family kind of environment. Isn't it crazy? Within a year, it's December 14th, 2002. It's at the ECW Arena or the Viking Hall. You become CZW Heavyweight Champion. This is now making you a double champion with the Iron Man title as well.
Yeah.
In your wildest dreams, would you have thought, as you're talking about, what am I doing here? All these guys are amazing. Not even a year in and you become their champion. That must have felt pretty good for you.
No, it felt great. Yeah, and the thing too is when it's happening at the time, it just everything's happening so fast that I don't really have a chance to process everything. I didn't really realize how much of a big deal it was that I won the CZW title, from the standpoint of all the guys who had won the title beforehand. Essentially, those were all the homegrown guys. occasionally you would have like a guy like Tajiri would come in and like win the title, and then the next show that was happening, or they would do something where there'd be like a title change and they'd put it on a name guy, for an hour. And then throughout, the next part of the show, he would then defend it and then lose it, like within the same show kind of thing. But they could forever, on the title lineage, they could have, Tajiri, and people will look at it and go, hey, that's the guy from ECW or whoever, they would do that kind of stuff from time to time. But I was the first like non-name guy who wasn't a CZW guy that got the title, I think. And it was a cool feeling. I mean, for whatever reason, and I will always be eternally grateful to the CZW fans, the Philly fans. They accepted me, warts and all, whatever. I just wasn't that guy from the West Coast the West Coast wannabe CZW. They didn't look at me that way. They accepted me right off the bat. I wish I could tell you why. I don't know, but I've always been eternally grateful to them for that. It just all worked out for whatever reason. It worked out, and I mean the biggest thing too, not the biggest thing, but it proved to myself I didn't need the XPW machine backing me, pushing behind me. That I could do this on my own. I didn't need somebody doing it, or some machine, doing it. It just, it was an awesome feeling. And, when they were going to put it on me a second time and I had the Ironman title, I was like, John, you don't want to do this. Like, I've been down this road. Like, I was joking with them about it. I was like, yeah, keep your wife over there. Don't get her away from me, that kind of thing. But it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. And I know I'm, just dragging it on, but like I'm trying to find the words to describe it, and I honestly can't, because it's just weird that it all happened the way it did. I honestly can't describe it. It was cool. It was a cool experience. I enjoyed it. I was happy for it. I was thankful for it. Because when you put the title on somebody, especially the heavyweight title, that's your lead horse. That's who you want. That's the face of the company. And especially when I went to CZ, because when I got the belt the second time, I was going to the gym. I was working out a lot. I started wrestling without a shirt on. Like, I took it seriously. Like, I was going to be, I'm representing this company. And I wanted to look the part. And so, it was all weird, man. It was just all weird.
I can understand, bro. You spend another 4 years in the company. I believe 2006 was your final year there, from my research. I may be wrong. The internet can be weird sometimes, but this is such a big time in your career, and I hate to feel like I'm kind of skimming through it there, because 3 times CZW World Heavyweight Champion, Ironman Champion, you really made a home for yourself there, and even without the XPW career, this makes you a Hall of Famer in CZW. This makes you, one of those names that is synonymous with hardcore in Philly, in United States hardcore wrestling, as far as I'm concerned. And it's not just that, because you could do more than that. You weren't just about just the hardcore. You could do a whole heap of things. So all of this time, you spend all this great time in this company. What was it that made you decide to leave the company and slowly start to step away from professional wrestling?
At the time, I'm trying to remember, when I left the first time in CZW, they had Okay, yeah, they had gotten a new booker. It was how am I forgetting his name? Crap, I'm sorry.
DJ
Zandig
Hyde?
was no, it wasn't DJ Hyde. But Zandig was kind of getting burned out with the booking, so he had Mike Barnes. Barnes? I can't believe I forgot his name, but the guy who runs Smart Mark Video, who owns Smart Mark Video.
Right.
He was going to take over as booker, and so for the his debut show, he wanted to put the titles. He was putting the titles on new guys, all the titles on new guys, like a fresh start, which I understood. I wrestled Ruckus that night, and Ruckus went over on me for the heavyweight title for the first time for himself. I got knocked out in that match. I don't even remember doing the match, but I remember after Mike told me what the plan was. I was fine with it. I was cool with it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, they're not going to ask me back. I just got this feeling they're not going to ask me back. And I went out in Flash and told him, I said, dude, I don't think I'm coming back. It's like, well, what makes you say that? It's like, it's just a feeling. Like, no one's asked me to do any promos, follow-up promos or anything like that. And I mean, I wish I could tell you I was kind of like worried or devastated, but I wasn't, because I hate traveling. I absolutely hate it. I like being home, and especially then, I had a young daughter. It broke my heart all the time to be on the road, and then all of a sudden I get a phone call. When are you coming home? I miss you. Like, I just hated that. And also, I had a lot of injuries. I mean, I still do. But I had a lot of injuries that I wasn't taking care of, and in some cases, it wasn't even the wrestling that was hurting. It was sitting in an airplane for 6 hours in a seat. Like, I'd be in so much pain. My knee would be throbbing. My lower back would be throbbing. So when when I lost the title in Ruckus, like I said, I got knocked out. And about a couple weeks later, I think I got a call from Mike Burns. And he basically said, he was kind of hemming and hawing on the phone. And I finally said, dude, if I'm not coming back, that's fine. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Just tell me. He goes, yeah, not going to use you. Well, we want to use you for this. They had the Ultraviolet Underground, I think it was called.
Yeah.
It was like death matches and hardcore stuff. They wanted to put me in that. But Zendig knew I didn't want to do that. Like, I know my legacy, reputation, whatever you want to call it, is based on being a deathmatch wrestler, and that's fine. That's cool. I don't view myself as a deathmatch wrestler. You want to say I was hardcore extreme, yeah, but deathmatch wrestler only because I done death matches, yeah. And the ones I've done are the ones that are more popular than most death matches. Than most death matches. I've done a ton of hardcore stuff with chairs, tables, that kind of stuff. And especially if you compare it to what like the deathmatch guys do these days, like, dude, I'm not like those guys are nuts. I'm sorry, like those guys are just nuts. And to be honest with you, like I'm not the best looking guy in the world, so I don't want to fuck this up any more than I have to. So like, that's why like when I get a deathmatch wrestler, and like I don't mind it, it's fine. But it's like, and I appreciate the comment that you had made before that you could do more than that stuff. My favorite wrestler growing up was Hulk Hogan. Then it became Bret Hart. I wanted to be Bret Hart. Mm-hmm. So I never had any aspirations to be in death matches like Supreme Lester. Like, dude, he wanted that. He loved it.
Yeah.
But when I spoke to Mike Barnes, dude, it's fine. Yeah, I don't want to do the Ultraviolet Underground. I appreciate the offer, but yeah, I don't want to do it. And hung up the phone, and it was like, okay, I'm done with CZW. Cool. At the time, they had 3PW and PWU had started up, and they were using the arena. And I was really good friends with the Backseat Boys, Johnny Cashmere and Trent Acid. And they were the ones that were, it was PW was their Fed. So just talking to them, we were just talking to each other. Johnny just brought up, hey, do you want to come to PWU? I was like, yeah, okay. And then 3PW had just been sold to a guy named Mike Haas. And Mike wanted to use me. And so it wasn't like I wasn't going back to Philly anymore. I was still going to Philly. I just wasn't wrestling for CZW anymore.
Yeah.
Fast forward to when Chris Cash passed away. CZW put on a benefit show for Chris Cash. And I love that kid. I flew myself out to be part of the benefit show. So I did the benefit show, and I got a pretty good reaction at the benefit show because I was a mystery tag partner for Adam Flash, I think. I got a really good reaction, had a good time at the show. Then they ended up doing the regular night show, CZW night show. And John Zandig was supposed to team with Nate Hatred to take on the Hate Club, which was Justice Payne and Nick Gage.
Nick Gage. Yeah.
Well, maybe an hour before their match was supposed to go on, Zandig asked me if I wanted to wrestle. I was like, what do you want me to do? It's like, well, he said he had a stomach virus and he couldn't wrestle, and he asked me if I'd take his spot in the match. And my first question to him was, am I getting paid? Because I had wrestled for free for Chris, it was a benefit show. And I was joking with him. He goes, yes, you're going to get paid, wise ass. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Yeah, sure. And I did the match and got a really good response when I came out. And at that point, Zandig had taken over booking for CZW. And I don't know if it was the next show or the following show after that, but he wanted to bring me back. And then I came back to CZW. So I was there for my second run, if you want to call it that. And then I left CZW. Something had happened. I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah, I know what happened. Okay. Sorry, I know this is long and convoluted.
No, that's fine.
My oldest daughter, her birthday, her party, whatever, and her birthday would always fall on the same day as CZW shows in March. There was one year where I almost missed her birthday. And, growing up, reading, books like Eddie Guerrero's book, Bret Hart's book, all those books, listening to interviews from guys that I admire, when they would be asked, like, do you have any regrets when it came to their career and blah, blah, blah. Inevitably, the one that would always come up is I wasn't home.
Yeah.
I missed Christmases, birthdays, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to be, I didn't want that. So the one year I almost missed my daughter's birthday, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I'd come back on a Sunday. We were having like her third or fourth birthday at Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. And I should have made it there within time, but of course, flight being delayed or whatever, I end up, arriving to my daughter's birthday party, like halfway through the birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. I walk in, my daughter, my wife, she just looks at me and scowls and like shakes her head. And I'm just like, it wasn't my fault. I had no control. But I'm here. So it was cool that I made the birthday party. From that point on, I'm like, okay, I am taking that Saturday off, when it's her birthday. The following year, when it was my daughter's birthday, which is in March, I had given CZW advance notice. Like, yeah, I can't wrestle on this show. Okay. For whatever reason, they put out like a thing saying I no-showed after the show. They had advertised me for the show, but they had put out a thing saying I no-showed. And it pissed me off. And this is back during MySpace. So I just wrote like a little thing saying I didn't no-show. They knew I was going to be there. And if I remember right, Johnny Cashmere he was still running PWU in Philly. And it's right when Todd Gordon had like come over to help and assist with booking and stuff like that. But Adam Flash wanted to leave CZW. They weren't doing anything with him, and I got on the phone with Flash. I got on the phone with Johnny Kashmir, and Johnny's like, "Hey, I want you to come to PWU." I was like, "No, I'm back with CZW. I don't, I'm a loyal guy. As much as I'd love to work with you, and honestly, in my world, like I work for both. But you know how indie wrestling is. Like, if you work there, you can't work here. Like, it was just the dumbest stuff in the world. But in CZW, like it really pissed me off that they had put out a thing saying I no-showed. And because some fans, they believe everything and anything, or they start coming up with reasons I no-showed. Like, I remember reading one thing, the reason I no-showed was because I was scheduled to wrestle, or actually I wasn't, but they said I was scheduled to wrestle Chris Hero, and I didn't want to drop the title to him, so I no-showed. Like, what? Why? Like, no. But I mean, whatever. I digress. But after talking to Johnny, I said, I know Flash wants to go to PWU, but I don't know if I want to leave CZW. Zandig's been really good to me, blah blah blah, except for the no-showing thing. And Johnny straight up said, he goes, "Dude, okay, if you don't come, Flash doesn't come. It's either both of you or none of you," kind of thing, I guess. And I had accomplished a lot in CZW, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll. And honestly, the PW was giving me more money, so I called Sabina, who took care of travel for CZW, and let her know that I'm going to go to PWU. And I did throw out, like, I want to wrestle for both companies, like, but if I have to, choose, like, what the hell? And PWU was doing great business and putting on some amazing shows. So I called Sabina and let her know. Sabina then said, "John wants you to call him." And so I called John because I'm not one of these guys who, I do your show on this day, and then the next day I show up at the enemy show without telling you, kind of stuff. That's what, Josh Prohibition and N-Dog 20 did to CZW. That's what Justice Payne did to CZW when all three of them went to XPW. And I don't begrudge them one bit going to XPW at all. Just the way they did it. So I talked to John and told him what was on my mind, why I'm leaving, and that was that. And I went to PWU and did some shows there. But by that point, my body was banged up. I was hurting. I had also moved to Houston, Texas, and was doing indies out in Houston. And at the time, I was doing shows in Dallas, which is about a 5-hour drive one way from Houston. I would never stay the night. I would do a show. As soon as the show was done, I'd get in my car and drive back home because I just wanted to be home. This one particular morning, I'd gotten home like at 6 in the morning. My wife and daughter were sleeping, and I went outside. And I just started doing some yard work, and I went to move a potted plant. And when I went to move it, I heard this pop. It sounded like a gunshot went off. And I collapsed. My back had just given out on me. I had to like yell for my wife. And I always tell people, like, if there were zombies, you always watch the movie where there's someone who can't walk or move and the zombie horde gets them. I would have been that guy. Like, I couldn't have moved. I was in so much pain. After about 3 days of not being able to move at all, finally went to like urgent care, where they stuck a needle like that size of my hip, and it made it so the muscles in my back were so tense, and I was able to get up and move around and do stuff. Like, okay, that's cool. It's all good. And then, I do whatever show, and as soon as I do a bump, my back goes out on me again. So it was just a culmination of a lot of things. My back giving out on me, always being in pain. To I hate traveling. I'm a big baby when it comes to traveling. You can ask my wife. She wants to go on vacation somewhere. Oh, we're gonna go here. We're gonna go to Florida. I'm like, what? It means I gotta get on a plane. No, once I get there, I'm fine. But I am the biggest baby getting there. But it was just a combination of stuff, and people would call and ask to book me, and I would politely decline. But after so many times, people just stopped calling, and I just got used to being home and being in a home mode. I mean, that's basically it. That long
Awesome,
story
bro.
would basically say, yeah.
Yeah, no, cool. I loved hearing about all of that. Thank you very much. Again, I wanted to, as we get towards our last couple of questions here, just wanted to, I've already asked you about Johnny Webb. I've asked you about Supreme. There's two other guys I want to bring up, from your time in XPW. Chaos. Please tell me something about him that, just a nice story about him.
Chaos. I was going to try to be a smart ass and say something nasty, but I'm not. Joey's an awesome guy. He just is. I know when it comes to XPW, a lot of people put like Joey and myself as like the proof that they had workers, essentially, the guys who could work. Like Joey, I've always maintained it and will continue to maintain it. I always thought he was way better than me. If you watch Joey in the ring, he has this fluidity to the way he does things and he moves. I mean, he's an awesome worker. And now he runs Santino's Brothers Wrestling Gym. And he's had a lot of guys come out of there, like Brody King, who's in the Ring of Honor. Jake Atlas, who unfortunately just got let go by WWE, but he was in NXT. Joey's having a ton of success with that, teaching kids and teaching pro wrestling, and he's doing it the right way. He's just he's an awesome guy. And I couldn't be more happy for him with what he's doing. I wish I could go down there and teach and help out, but like I said before, I hate leaving my house. And he's like an hour away, which isn't a big deal, but I'm just a big baby when it comes down. I'm sorry. I'm becoming an old lady. I don't like leaving the house. And that was before COVID and all that stuff. So, but
I know what you mean.
Joey's an awesome guy. I love Joey. I wish I could see him more and hang out with him. He put me. He did the SoCal or Southern California Deathmatch Hall of Fame, and he put Supreme and I in it. And he jokingly said, I had to put on an event to give you an award in order to see you. Because like I don't go anywhere or do anything. He's an awesome guy. I'm really proud of him too.
Awesome, bro. I've just connected with him recently on Twitter, so hopefully I'll be speaking with him in the next couple of weeks. When I think of XPW, I think of these names. I think of Johnny Webb. I think of Supreme. I think of the Messiah. I think of Chaos. And one last guy I wanted to bring up the name of was Damien Steele. Do you have anything to say about Damien?
Damien Steele. I didn't know him all that well. He was a nice enough guy. Yeah, I really didn't. I wish I could tell you stuff about him, but I didn't really spend that much time with him. He was a nice enough guy. He left XPW to go to, was it UPW, Ultimate Pro Wrestling, that was run by Rick Bassman. That's where guys like Samoa Joe and John Cena came out of.
Oh, yeah.
I wrestled Damien once. And if I'm being honest, it wasn't a great match. It just wasn't. He was leaving XPW to go to PWU. And so he was putting people over on his way out, which was very nice of him and really cool. He put myself over. This is before I started with like being part of the Black Army, I think, and all that stuff. And he put over Dynamite D, who, if anybody knows anything about XPW, Dynamite D, he wasn't known for winning. Like he'd go out and he would be a 80s wrestler. He was awesome doing it. Like he beat Macho Man or Jake the Snake, Ultimate Warrior. He was awesome at doing it. But Damien put D over, like on his last match, which was awesome of him to do. But yeah, I didn't know him all that well. I just remember feeling when I wrestled him like I babied him, because he came from he was very much the you barely touch the guy when you punch kind of thing.
Yeah.
I felt like I was going to break him, even though he was bigger than me and muscular than me. I always felt I was going to break him a little bit. But he nice guy. He eventually came back to XPW when I left.
Right.
I think they just gave him my gimmick and they put it on him. He was the dark savior. I don't know what it was, but yeah. Again, I don't have anything bad to say about him. I just didn't know him that well, really.
No, fair enough. I always remembered his name because, this is the funny thing about being in Perth, Western Australia. At the time, I was 13, 14 years old, and the only way I knew anything about XPW was reading the results on lordsofpain.net. That's the only way I knew, and I kept up with everything, even though I had no way of seeing it. I only was able to keep up with it by just reading the results, and every week I always kept up with what was going on. It's such a weird way to be a fan of a company, not even being able to see the results. And
no, that's cool.
Isn't that weird though? Isn't that a weird way to be a fan? But it's almost like when I interviewed Thumbtack Jack, he was talking about how he saw in the magazines these Japanese deathmatch matches going on and events going on, and he never got his hands on it until tape trading, and he finally got a tape of it and he finally got to see it. I had no way of getting tapes back then. I was 14. I didn't have any money. I didn't even know how to go about that. So, but yeah, that was my fandom with XPW, was reading results.
No, that's cool. I've never heard that. Thank you for being a fan. That was awesome.
Of course, five
and
people.
Also, Damien Steele.
That's what I remember.
The name Damien Steele, because he would call himself the real deal, Damien Steele. And he would end his promos like, "That's the real deal." Like it was super cheesy 80s promo kind of thing. But when you see a name, Damien Steele, the real deal, like, of course that name's going to stand out to you. He was always cool with that. He was very good with like branding himself.
Right, cool. Well, we're getting so close to the end, but something else that's topical right now to bring up is XPW is coming back. The first event coming back, it's called Rebirth. Yes, did you not know? Oh my Lord, this is unprecedented.
Who's doing it?
Rob is putting on a show called Rebirth in Rochester, New York on November 7th, 2021, and I believe
it's in Rochester?
January, and I believe in January he's doing a show in on the West Coast in Los Angeles, January 22nd, I think, called California.
Awesome name.
Thoughts?
I think that's the funniest thing in the world. What? I mean, good for him, I guess. I really don't have any thoughts on it. I mean, okay. I mean,
I just thought I'd let you know.
No, I mean it's cool. I mean, yeah. I mean, if he was going to start a promotion, I would think maybe start something different. But maybe because of like the whole Dark Side on the Ring episode on XPW and things like that, like he's maybe just seeing an opportunity to, a cash grab on it or something. I don't know. I mean, hopefully, I would like to think that he's learned, the mistakes that he made with the original XPW.
Yeah.
Like I said, like we had talked about before, the title lineage, and how the title was lost and won. Things like that, it's a big deal, and hopefully, he's learned from those mistakes. I mean, I wish him nothing. I wish him luck with it. Hope it does well. But yeah, I think it's funny. It's in Rochester. He always told me he hated Rochester. That's where he grew up, I think. He hated it. Like, the fact that it's in Rochester, I think it's kind of funny, but yeah, I mean, good luck. Hopefully it does well. And the biggest thing with XPW was XPW, those three letters, XPW, put such a bad taste in people's mouths. And it wasn't because of the wrestlers, it wasn't because of the boys, it was because of Rob and his shenanigans and the things that he would do and say. I hope that he realizes that there is bad publicity.
Yeah.
And that he can learn to keep his mouth shut, and he doesn't need to be the center of attention and just say some outlandish things to try to get attention on something. Like, just let the guys do their thing. And the other thing too that I never liked about XPW was, he would want to make somebody or something his own, or they had to be their own character. Like when who was it? It was when R-Truth was an XPW part of the Black Panthers. Like, he had to give him a whole new gimmick. Like, people know him as R-Truth or whatever he did that he did before. Same thing when the Wall, that the guy who played the Wall in WCW.
Yeah.
Like, he became the newer version of the 8mm guy that they stole. XPW stole their characters from movies. They had Snuff, or it became Snuff, and that was just a ripoff from the Nicolas Cage movie 8mm. Like, let guys just be themselves, especially this day and age with indie guys being able to create their own gimmick, be themselves, market themselves, and sell T-shirts off it and things like that. Just let them be themselves. You don't need to say, hey, okay, I'm going to bring in this guy, but I want you to be this. Like, so-and-so's been doing this gimmick for 10 years. Let him just do it. That's what people know him as. Yeah. Hopefully he's learned that, and he doesn't have to have his fingers and everything. And in all honesty, good luck. I hope it does well. I really do. But the fact that when people hear XPW and it puts a bad taste in their mouth, and I honestly believe when XPW folded, Chaos and Supreme, and maybe myself even to a certain extent, but I'd already left. It was in CZW, and it had done well for myself at CZW. But Chaos and Supreme, like, I'm sure there was a lot of companies that would have loved to have used them, but they didn't because they're that XPW guy.
Right. Yeah.
And it was because of stuff like Rob. Like, at one point, Rob was threatening to feed a tiny dog to a snake or something like that, which he never would have done. He never would have done it. He was just doing it to get under people's skin and get attention. But that's the bad kind of attention. So, let the guys just wrestle and be themselves. And you don't need to be up in the front of it, the face of it. Like, just let the product speak for itself.
Yeah, I believe the tagline he's got going right now is, "You can't cancel what's already been cancelled."
What does that even mean?
I beg to differ. I think it could get cancelled again if he doesn't shut up.
like what the? It makes no sense. What the?
I've already seen a bunch of people. I've already seen a couple of guys have already dropped out of the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who does he have on the show? Anybody that I would know?
Let's have a look. I'll do a quick Google search. XPW.
I mean, I can look it up if I actually put in the effort. You don't need to do that.
21. I know he had Colby Carino, who dropped out. I know. There's a couple other guys that. There's a poster. California.
The other thing too, to anybody wrestling for that show, make sure you either get paid in cash up front. Actually, get paid in cash up front. Don't get any checks. Don't do any checks. Just get paid in cash.
What I can see here, I think Schlack also dropped out. But he's got Mance Warner, Atticus Kogar, G Raver, Masada, who I just interviewed the other day, Eric Ryan.
Masada's doing it?
Yes, he is. And he said he's
Oh,
excited, hopes
Masada.
it goes somewhere.
Oh, Masada. I love Masada. He's a great guy. He's awesome.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Matthew Justice, Eddie Only, Kevin Bennett, and Jake Christ. That's the other guy that dropped out. Jake Christ dropped out. Yeah.
Like I said, I hope it goes well. I really do. Just get paid in cash up front.
Yeah, I just think what needs to happen is that Rob needs to stop making his little podcast because people keep finding snippets there and putting it online, and he just needs to shut up and just keep in the background.
Yeah, which honestly, I didn't even know he was still doing that stupid. It's that political podcast thing, right?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always needs to be the center of attention, and just keep your mouth shut. Like you don't. Yeah, I mean, for good or bad, that's who he is. But yeah, just it's so stupid. Like it's especially in this day and age with people going back 10 years on a Twitter to find something, or like, it is what it is. I mean, like I said, I honestly hope it does well because I want the boys and the girls to make money and have a place to work. But yeah, cool, I guess. Yeah, all right, awesome.
Were you asked to be a part of the Dark Side of the Ring episode?
I'm sorry?
Were you asked to be a part of the Dark Side of the Ring episode?
Yeah, I interviewed for it back in January, I think. Sat down and we talked. It went well. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Because initially I didn't want to do it, but I spoke to the producer, and essentially the story that they want to tell, the story that he at least told me that they wanted to tell, as much as it had to do with Rob, and from what I was told, Rob didn't want to be interviewed because they were going to ask him about me. And in his mind, like I can tell you, I had nothing to do with it, with the attack on Billy, but no one's going to believe me, and he's right. So I it is what it is. But they want to tell the story of just a group of young guys who wanted to be in the wrestling business, and we'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting to see how they splice it together, and they do the little reenactments on things, and because it's Dark Side. I love the show. I really enjoy everything that they've done, and we'll see what happens. But it was a good sit down. It was good talking, and honestly, it was good getting some of the stuff off my chest too.
That's cool, bro. That's good to hear. And for anyone out there wondering why I didn't ask about the attack, I'm just doing that out of respect. If you want to find out about it, Google it, because in my opinion, it's not for me to be prying or something that's already been answered somewhere else. So that's just my stance. Bro,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries, my friend. Okay, we're getting right near the end here of the interview. I know you just said you don't like to leave your house or do a whole lot, which is awesome, bro, because you know what? Since COVID happened, I've been a homebody. I used to go to the pub, the bars, all the time here in Perth, but in the last few months, I've really enjoyed just staying at home, just watching Netflix, just chilling out. But so, like, if you want to plug anything, if there is anything to plug, or tell any of your fans out there what you are up to these days, aside from being a devoted husband and father, let them know right
now. Be honest with you, I got nothing, dude. I appreciate you reaching out and wanting to chat with me, and I'm always happy to do it. But yeah, it's I don't have any bookings or anything like that, or just yeah, I mean, if you want to reach out, I'm on Facebook, Billy Messiah. It's just a bunch of pictures of my kids and my wife and stuff like that. So if you're looking for wrestling stuff, sorry, you're not going to get anything. I'm just that annoying guy who posts pictures of his daughters all the time. But yeah, I mean, I always enjoy chatting with somebody or listening from fans, and I try my best to respond. As you can attest, like I go days without being on it and stuff like that. So,
That's
but no, I appreciate you reaching out and asking to chat with me, and I've enjoyed doing the interview. Thanks, man.
No worries, bro. And before I let you go, I've got that one last segment. Oh, look at that. That's cute.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm a big
This
cat
is
guy.
Dusty.
Oh, looks like
Dusty.
my old cat. Oh,
Yeah.
cute.
He's bugging the crap out of me. It's my daughter's cat. So all right, there we go.
Good boy.
Yeah.
The last segment of the show, bro, it's called 5 Second Frenzy. You have 5 seconds to answer each question. Even if you break the 5 seconds, it's okay. It takes a while sometimes to pick your favorite this and your favorite that. First question is, who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, Bret the Hitman Hart. That's easy.
Excellent choice, bro. When I was a kid, I had a poster of him on the wall. Who was your favorite opponent over the years?
Over the years, crap. I have favorite opponents for different reasons, but it would probably either be Supreme, Nick Mondo, or hell, Sabu, because I had a good feud with Sabu in XPW and or just in LA for other feds too, or Justice Payne. Someone's my favorite on a different day for a different reason, but anytime Nick Mondo and I wrestled, we always put on like good matches, just easy to work with him, and he was down for everything. And same thing with Supreme. Sorry, this cat is messing with me really bad. Get out of here. But yeah, I can't put my finger on like one guy, but those would be the group of guys right there.
Excellent, bro. And if you're watching this and you heard Nick Mondo's name, look at our YouTube. We've got an interview with him as well.
Nice.
Yeah, bro. If you could pick one match that you remember and means most to you, what would be your favorite match that you were part of?
Again, you got to catch me on a date. It would be different reasons, but I had a match with Nick Mondo in California. It was a death match for a promotion called Epic. That match I'm very proud of. It was just everything went the way we wanted it to go, and it got a lot of good praise from people. Not because of the death match stuff, but just because of all the stuff that we teased. Because I always, if I ever did death match, I always like teasing things, not what Zandig would refer to as hack and slash. You hit me with this, blah blah blah. Like I like teasing things and then planting something, table in the corner or on the outside that we will then hit later on in the match. But you've forgotten about this table, so when you go through it, you completely forget about that it was there to begin with. That I always love doing that. And Mondo was a cool guy to do that kind of stuff with. And also, I had a match with Sabu in XPW. I think it was called New Year's Revolution or something like that. That was a good match. That match, I felt like I really came into my own. Things were clicking for me. Sabu just wasn't beating the crap out of me like he had done before. I was taking the initiative. I was listening. I was more confident in my abilities. And also, my first match in CZW against Justice Payne. That match clearly if it had not gone as well as it did, I never probably would have went back to CZW. I'm particularly proud of that match because of the fact is like Payne and I didn't know each other. We had just met each other that morning. And for two guys who didn't know each other, to have the kind of match that we had, I think speaks to both of our abilities. Now, I mean, I can look back at it now and pick things apart and wish I hadn't done this or should have done this instead. Like I do that with everything. But after that match, when I got to the back, the locker room was clapping. And I just thought this is what they do here. Oh, wow, these guys are really nice. Like, wow. But apparently it was like a lot of the guys were coming up to me going, dude, nice match, good match, good match. And then also my death match with Supreme at Go Funk Yourself. You know, we had just had what happened with the whole Heatwave thing like a week prior. So like Supreme and I put a bunch of pressure on ourselves because in our mind at the time, it was like, oh, the world, everyone's watching us right now because of what just happened, which no one was probably watching us, but it was just all in our own mind. And we went out there and, you know, had a death match, tease things again, like I like to do. I just remember Sabu coming up to me, like not after the match, but like a week later at the XPW office and just going, hell of a match, kid. Awesome match. I was like, oh, thank you. And then he, of course, said something like you don't need to do everything though. You know, like I got you. And I agree with him. But that match, especially now because Lester's no longer here, means a lot to me. Now, when I think about the match, I just remember distinctly during that match being so tired. Like, why am I so tired? Because I would never gas. I would never gas out. In that match I did, and it was because like I'm doing all the work in the damn thing. I'm setting up the table, I'm doing this, and Lester's selling in the corner. But like, you know, it was worth it. It was good. And also my match with, like I said before, with Justice Payne, especially because Payne's no longer with us. Because, you know, Lord knows if Payne had not liked me, even if we had the best match in the world, if he had not liked me, he easily could have just gone to Zandig and go, yeah, you don't need to bring him back. So, again, you got to catch me on the day. One day this match might stick out more to me, and the next day it's this match. But it's those matches right there.
Cool, bro. Not a problem. And getting away from wrestling finally. We're getting into the arts now. Your favorite book?
Favorite book? Oh, well, since I'm Messiah, I should say the Bible, right? I'm not a big reader. When I travel, that's the only time I would read on a plane, or if I was a passenger in the car. That's when I would read usually. And when I did read, it was usually autobiographies. But the one book that really stands out to me was Eddie Guerrero. I love that book. I read that book twice. You know, usually I'm one and done. I'm one and done kind of guy. But Eddie Guerrero's book I thought was amazing and was very inspirational.
Absolutely, bro. And I agree. Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? Thing is, I don't watch a lot of TV like regularly. Oh, you know something? Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things. My youngest daughter, discovered Stranger Things over the summer and is obsessed with it. I used to be a huge Walking Dead fan, but like my wife still watches it, and I always mean to pick it back up because I would read the comics, but I just haven't been able to do it.
Bro, I'm huge on The Walking Dead. It's my absolute favorite right now. Season 11 has just released episode 4, so loving it.
Yeah, she watches it, and I always want, like, she always tells me, why aren't you going to watch it with me? This used to be our show, and she's right. I need to. I absolutely need to. But for some reason, I dropped off, right? You know, when they were doing the whole Whisperers thing, and because I knew that from the comics. I think the fact that I knew kind of stuff that was happening, maybe, but that was always one of my favorite shows. And strangely enough, like I love some of the Disney Plus stuff, like the Loki series and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like that stuff's awesome. Trying to think what else, if there's anything else. I mean, that's basically it. Like I'm a big movie guy. I watch movies all the time.
And that's the next one. What's your favorite film?
Oh, favorite film? Again, it's one of those you got to catch me on the day what it is. Like growing up, I was a huge Crow fan, Brandon Lee fan.
Awesome.
I love the Crow. Trying to think, like my favorite film. Yeah, I mean, I'd have the Crow just always stands out in my brain. Like that, I don't know, for some reason that movie just spoke to me as some, you know, lonely teenage kid or something. I don't know, like going through teenage angst. But yeah, that movie, and that's the only reason I ever worked at Blockbuster Video when I was younger, was because I got all the free rentals and I could watch what I wanted to watch and stuff, you know. But like right now, like I hate to be like on the bandwagon, but like all the Marvel stuff, I dig all that stuff.
Me too.
Yeah, all that stuff's awesome. But yeah, like right now I'd say the Crow probably.
Excellent, bro. I think I saw that movie about 100 times when I was a teenager. Favorite musical artist or band?
I'm a big Kill Switch Engage guy. Like that's the kind of music I like. My daughter calls it my yelling music, or she'll go, oh yeah. It's yeah, like, Kill Switch I enjoy. I'd have to look at my phone because I'm one of these guys, like I love this song. I couldn't tell you what the song is, couldn't even tell you who it's by. This song, like I'm notorious for that. But trying to think who I got something, I can't think of the names now. I'm just horrible with that.
That's okay, bro. We can go just Kill Switch.
Yeah,
I've seen him.
Kill Switch,
I've seen him. I've seen him about a solid 5 times, I would say.
Oh, really?
Yes. Moving away from the arts now. Favorite food?
Favorite food? Steak. I love it when my wife cooks steak. Yeah.
Yeah, hard to beat, bro. We get that a lot in the show. Favorite place to eat on the road?
On the road. It'd probably be like a Denny's. I always get like a breakfast scramble or something like that. Something like that, probably.
Very nice. We've had Denny's on the show before. We also get Waffle House and Cracker Barrel quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
Third last one. Favorite alcoholic beverage?
I'm just a beer guy. When I lived in Philly, I lived with Ian Knox, worked at the Berwyn Tavern with like Johnny Casper. Probably one of the funnest times I had. It was basically a bunch of wrestlers living in a house, working at a bar. Like Ian knew everything about alcohol. I know nothing about it. I'm just a beer guy. So if anything, it'd probably be like a Blue Moon beer or something like that. I'm just simple that way.
Very nice. Very nice. I am that way inclined too. Second last one. Favorite female body part? You're going to look at an attractive woman.
Oh, boobs. Boobs.
There you go.
Boobs. That's my wife. I'm a boob guy.
Excellent,
yeah.
bro. Excellent.
All about the boobs. Don't understand the butt thing. I get it. I mean, I kind of, but boobs, they're awesome.
Excellent.
When
bro.
I was the last interview I had with Piers, my wife flashed me, and I stopped the interview because she flashed me. Good pair of boobs, and I stopped me in my tracks. I'm real simple that way.
It happens to me too sometimes. My girlfriend will flash her butt at me while I'm in the middle of trying to talk to somebody. Bloody. I
mean, I should say like their eyes, or I don't know, but it's boobs. Sorry.
And the last one, bro. Favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? It's probably just good old fuck.
Yeah.
I try not to curse. I was notorious, especially in CZW. I'd get on the mic and every other word out of my mouth was F this, F that. I was, that ECW influence, I guess. But being a dad, I try my best not to curse. But like when I get angry or I get hot, that reptilian part of my brain clicks on and the curse words start flying out. And I hate that. If I could change one thing about myself, it would be that. I grew up in a house. Yeah, my dad. I learned how to curse from my dad, even though he won't say that. Like, where'd you learn that? Like, I learned it from you. Um, but I try my best not to curse when I do interviews. But yeah, if I get angry, all of a sudden it just every other word is mother effer this, and like it's horrible.
I understand, bro. And fuck, if you know that, if this were a family feud, that would be the number one answer from our show.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Bro, I am so thrilled that I got the opportunity to connect with you here today and hear some of your stories, hear about your journey in the professional wrestling industry, and so proud to see, you know, how proud you are in your life right now. You know, 2 daughters, wife, you're living life at home, you're enjoying life at home. Man, that's awesome. And this is the biggest part of the interview where I get to put them up on a pedestal like I'm going to do right now. Messiah, Billy, all the way over here. This is Perth, Western Australia, bro. This is the most isolated city in the world. And all the way from over there to here, you were able to connect with me reading results on the internet, learning who's the Messiah, who is this guy, all this way. You reached this far. You should be so proud of what you did in the professional wrestling business. And I hope you know that you have someone right here that appreciated everything that you put into it, my friend.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. Thank you very much. I mean, I think it's absolutely cool. I told my daughter, I got to do an interview. Oh, with who? Like, someone from Australia. I just, what? Like, it's cool. I mean, I'm very appreciative of it. Thank you for reaching out. Like, I always enjoy talking and BSing because I really don't get to talk wrestling these days at all. Because my wife and daughters, they can care less, and I don't blame them. But again, I appreciate it. Thank you, and I'm honored. And yeah, that's awesome, dude. Thank you very much, man.
You're very welcome, sir, and thank you again. I just really appreciate your time.
All right, Carl. Anytime
you
want to talk again, just let me know.
Of course, bro. And thank you, everyone out there, for watching here the Insider's Edge podcast on the WZWA Network in conjunction with Blue Wire Hustle. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, California, in Ferry, with my new friend here, Billy. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you.